We had a lot of that stuff in Smite 1. So this is just the beginning. A lot of that's coming up. But for now, we have the basic arena tutorial. So if
This
you
goes
have a
live
friend
Tuesday.
who you brought to Smite,
The auto build
they've
is
never played
good.
before,
The auto build
tell
is
them to go ahead and look at
efficient.
that. There in the future, new players will be automatically routed to stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff's not ready yet, but the map itself you can play through and check it out.
Sounds good. Always a fan of new player experiences. So cool. A good section there, but we got plenty more to talk about, and we are going to keep the ball rolling as we move into now talking about game modes. So obviously we have Conquest and Arena, and we have a blanket of changes for both of them. Starting with Conquest and some environmental art changes, it looks like.
Yeah, I think it's time for Pon Pon's time to shine. Can we go in game?
Oh yeah, we can totally look at some stuff.
Dude, we can totally. All right,
Let's-
so we
Well,
look
there's
in game.
spoilers. Well, you're good to transfer to me because people already know. They see the Patchnotes shows.
True. You can see you can see it.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
We ignore who we're playing. We haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, there's a few. So the environment team is still hard at work. We talked a lot about environment art in the last show.
yeah.
But it's something that's going to be a continual process for Smite too. We're looking at specifically, clarity and performance is still a big important thing we're going to be
always.
iterating on. But we're also adding these new, really interesting landmarks. So we saw there the giant Medusa face shield wall.
Yeah.
I probably should have come up with a more proper noun. This one I've been told is called the Lich Head.
The Lich Head. That looks right. That looks like a Lich Head.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot more of these. I think even as Pon, you were flying around there's a couple things that like I said, me and Pon, we see a lot of stuff trickle in over time. So like, it's hard for me to remember exactly.
Yo,
what
look at
players have
that.
seen before and what they haven't.
Look at
but
that.
I know for a fact.
Look at the
Lich
walls
Head,
now.
Medusa
It's
wall,
so good.
These walls in the lane and the braziers with fire.
Yeah.
Those are new. Those are better.
The
help to
walls
distinguish
instead of
between
just
lane
like
and
just
jungle.
rock, it's so much better.
There's and those other two big assets. I mean, even like that centaur. Was that big centaur?
Yeah.
That's new.
I'm
right?
telling you, every update is
Keep
gonna
in
look
mind
so much
that's
better.
Not in this patch.
Yeah.
That's next patch.
We're in
Okay.
dev, so we might have things that are not exactly going to be there. But to give you a taste of these landmark pieces being added, adding flavor to the jungle, adding
Yeah.
flavor to key moments on the map, making it feel like you're really in this mythologically based battleground. Just like this has been like my favorite edition.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
It's so big too.
Yeah,
And,
it just
and
looks
you
cool.
you get the view of it all the way down the lane really nicely.
Yeah.
It adds a lot. So as people were giving us a lot of feedback about kind of just rocks and trees, right? And they were right. We were starting off with a basic setup, but now we've gotten through a lot of the core foundational elements. Now we're adding those really cool new exciting landmarks. And you can get a spoiler of ones for the jungle camps that's coming.
I really like the
next
walls
patch.
instead
In
of
the
just the
future.
rocks.
So,
The
right here's
walls
the
around the
Valkyrie
towers and
we
whatnot
looked
instead
as
of just the
well.
rocks
yeah, I
is
forgot
dope.
about
Sorry,
that
Chad.
one. I wasn't sure if we did that one already. There was, I think, a minor rework in CA1, but yeah, it's been reworked again to be even more clear. It's a very high combat zone.
Yeah.
Previously, it was a lot more noisy, had a lot more stuff going
Yeah,
on
like
here,
a
but
whirlpool of gold, and that added a lot of noise texture to the ground, which made particles difficult to read again.
Yeah.
right. So this one's been cleaned up even further and included some more specific of those cool, like underworldly, demonic type symbols and themes that the Gold Fury has present on her character model.
Awesome. Well, looks great. So next up we have looks like a returning camp to the map, the Pyromancer.
Yes, a new objective to Smite 2, the
Yeah.
Pyromancer. We got a lot of feedback. That's the Griffin thing I was talking about,
Yes.
by the way.
Yeah, I saw the Griffin.
Right. I think that was already in CA1.
I think I have to actually kill these things first, right?
Yeah.
Bye.
We don't have Pyromancer spawned on the map yet, sorry. But you know the you know it, you love it, the Pyromancer. We got a lot of feedback that you have bots immune. The a lot of feedback that the sort of like mid game was lacking another objective, and that even with the Nagas in place, there was still like oh, you're gonna wait the whole time, Pon. We're gonna so we really needed something else to help bridge the gap, and this is just a really successful and beloved mechanic from Smite 1. So this one's in Smite 2. There's the general mechanics of it are going to work mostly the same. There's not really any major changes. So defeating the Pyromancer will give you the Runic Bomb and will grant your whole team golden experience. The Runic Bomb you pick up with the Interact key. It's put in one of your consumable slots. You can only have one runic bomb at a time. When you place the runic bomb, it has 2 seconds before detonating, and then it deals 1,000 true damage to structures, minions, or jungle creatures, and it reduces their attack speed. Or if it hits an enemy god, it deals 300 damage and knocks them out.
Nice.
The runic bomb also has health and can be destroyed before it detonates by enemies. So pretty much the same flow what people are used to in Smite 1. But the Pyromancer is like a really big deal for bridging the gap between the mid game and the late game. It adds a lot of value to the solo lane side of the map and gives them some really meaningful rotations over there. So a really powerful strategic element, and another exciting thing to do on this conquest map as we continue to grow with it.
Always love a good siege objective. Cool. So moving forward from there, we kind of have a couple changes that are going to fall under the blanket of objective, tankiness, and gold values. So
Yes.
Nah, Mike, this is live Tuesday.
So like, we're doing some pretty heavy balance.
Oh yeah.
In this patch, we're starting with the map, but items is going to have a lot as well.
Oh yeah, quite a lot.
But yeah, no,
but
these walls right here,
overall,
these
the state
walls
of
right here
Smite
make the
2
map
in
look
this
so
first
much
alpha is, like,
cleaner.
hyper.
I don't mind having the
super
jungle
low
have the
2
rocks
decay,
and stuff, that's
super
fine, but when
bursty,
everything was
super
rocks, it
fast
just
gold
looks...
gain,
I don't know
which
how
is,
to
you know,
describe-
exciting to a degree, but some of it was being.
It's
pushed
just
a little
almost
too far,
annoying.
so
Yeah.
one of the things
This,
we're talking about here first,
making
and we'll
everything
get
like
into the
clear
items and gods as we go,
pathing
but
and leaving
starting
like a
with the
rock
map,
or two
which
is just
a
so
lot of
much
times
more
when people are talking
aesthetically
about
pleasing.
TDK and burst, they discuss mostly just items and gods, but the map has a really big impact on that as well. Usually when you're gaining gold much faster than what feels like the general usual Smite balance between gold and XP, you're getting gold faster, everybody is more lethal. Everybody is going to be dealing a lot more damage. Their item scaling's online, but their base stats aren't catching up, those types of things. So it makes, especially squishy v squishy combat, when there's heavy gold inflation, is everybody's dying really fast.
Yeah, no base stats to protect you.
So we have a variety of changes here to make objectives on the map more challenging. So those are going to be harder to kill, slow things down a little bit, and we're decreasing the gold value from a lot of things. So just to go through it all, like I'm not going to read every number, but towers, tier 1 towers, tier 2 towers are going to have increased health and increased power. So they're going to deal more damage, going to be more lethal, harder to dive, and they're going to be harder to kill.
That's good.
Tower bounties are going to be worth less gold. So those are the new mechanic where the little orbs fly off and you pick them up. I love goblin those things.
I know, right? They're so good.
Yeah, it's like some
So
classic
rewarding.
like Pac-Man level satisfaction from gaming. But those are going to be worth a significantly less gold. From 30 gold to 15 gold per the gold bounties, and from 80 to 30 on the blue bounty, which is the final one.
Yeah.
That's over a 50% reduction. Tier 2 tower now grants a different amount of gold bounty, so it's worth a little bit more than the tier 1. So even though it's a heavy nerf, the tier 2 is like slightly less of a nerf than the tier 1 is, I guess, you can think about it.
More valuable stuff.
Yeah, the Phoenix health is increased, Phoenix protections increased, Phoenix power is increased, and Phoenix penetration increased. So Phoenix is going to be more scary too. Fire Giant, harder to kill, increased health and increased protections. Naga Queen, increased health and increased protections. Minions in
I don't know if you needed to buff the Naga. It's already
this
like
is the
impossible to
spicy
do by
ones here.
yourself.
Minion starting gold rewards decreased. That's where we're going to get the main influx of that bloated gold across the map.
It's just earning money off minions right away.
And we also were finding that oftentimes junglers were falling behind in gold, especially if they weren't splitting waves.
Okay.
So that should help the jungle be a little bit more on pace. So the minions are getting the bigger decrease.
Yeah,
there,
if you have
but the jungle is
Devos,
also getting
with Devos you can.
a decrease. It's less about a jungle because this is sort of like
If you do anything other than Devos, you
specifically
can.
the gold Cyclops
Okay.
camps are also going to get significant reductions in their gold values.
That makes sense. That is the cash money camp. So
Yeah, so this is also going to heavily impact Snowball.
yeah.
Snowball was a little out of control. As you know, when you have so many things brand new, we would see this at the start of every new Smite season.
Yeah.
Snowball goes way up when a lot of people are learning and a lot of things are new, a lot of mechanics are new, a lot of balance is new.
Yeah.
So this should make a very big impact on the pace of the game. The snowball
It is
over
true.
the
There'd
game,
be
and it's
times where
gonna
like it would be like
affect,
4 to
time
3, but
kill
within
and burstiness,
7
although we're
minutes
still
it's a
gonna address that
5,000
additionally
gold lead.
in items. But
And like you haven't lost any
Well,
big
it's not doing
objective
anything
yet, so
too
there was
extreme,
way
for a
way
lot
too
of
much
specific item
gold
targeting.
snowball in the
Yeah,
map. Maybe not
yeah,
experience.
No huge blankets. A lot of.
But there'd be
very
times where
specific
like
targeting
everyone's the
stuff,
same
so
level.
that
There's
all
only been
sounds
like
really
4 or
good.
5 kills, but they have
And
a
that does the
4,000
Conquest
gold
map, but
lead. It's like,
Arena
bro,
has some
what?
things to talk about, and we're starting off like we did with the Conquest map, talking about environment art. So there was, I think, one change to the Arena environment.
Oh yeah, we toned back down the saturation just a bit.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, we did.
as we were sorting through that feedback, we found that mostly that had been geared towards the Conquest map.
Yeah.
The Arena map was already in a pretty good spot. So
Okay.
that saturation was maybe a little too pushed. So we're just
Too
walking it
too
back
much.
a tad.
Too
yeah,
much.
that's what I saw people say overall. Like, looks good. Turn the saturation a bit.
Yeah, I remember hearing that I didn't hear it until CA1, but a few Arena mains and ambassadors and their friends specifically said it still felt a little too saturated.
just a little too sad.
Which was funny because it was like first it was like not enough color, then it's too much color. But it's like no, that's how iteration works. That's how game balance works. It's like the art has to go through the same process.
Yeah, it's the Goldilocks process. All right, so cool. Next up, we have continued arena changes. The setup time is being reduced just a little bit.
Yep. Get the game mode started faster.
There you go, nice and easy. And after that, the basic tutorial, which we'd already kind of talked about, is just mentioned here again. The tutorial that we talked about earlier is in the arena mode, so you can hop in, play as Neath, and learn the absolute basics. If you have a friend who's never played, it's a great cue for them to jump into and have a wonderfully narrated experience. So awesome. We'll just continue moving forward, and actually, this next section too. I think that we might.
Any big news?
Yeah,
A bunch of nice art on the Conquest map. A bunch of quality of life changes, like anything that you're like, yo, this isn't working, this needs to work. A bunch of good quality of life and map changes so far.
Should be joining us.
And we know everyone's hungry for ranked and matchmaking updates. So
Hello.
Yo.
hey,
I love Nex. He always makes me feel better about.
Doing good.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Happy to be back on. Happy talking about some numbers. We got a lot of out-of-game game systems to chat about.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think we should just dive right into it.
Max is always so
starting with the
excited
role
to
preference
talk
system, so
about
that's
numbers.
new here.
Yeah, no, we completely reworked the
It's good. It's good though. I'm good. I'm excited to hear about numbers.
Kind of teased this already quite a bit, but when going into Conquest now, players are going to rank their roles based on like most preferred to least preferred, so 1 through 5. This has a whole bunch of advantages in terms of us assigning roles, but also it gives us really good data on where the roles are at, what people want to play, all that stuff. I don't know, do we have the in-game to show off? Is that something that you can pull up on?
I might be able to.
yeah, you should.
Yeah.
It might be in a state of development where it's in, but we definitely share.
Yeah, so like
images
in
as
Smite
well.
1, you can say I want mid jungle,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
Jump in.
But then if you didn't get those, it's just going to randomly
love
give
about
you
this
one of
too
the
is
other
they're not
3.
just the-
Now
the,
you can say I want mid,
order,
then
but they
jungle,
also
then
give some
carry, then
definitions
support,
and
then
descriptions
solo.
and locations
So the
about the
opportunity
roles.
for you to get
So if you're
solo,
very new to
your
the
least
system,
preferred role
before
after
you
not
keep
getting your
Conquest,
first 2
you'll
isn't
need
as
to-
high. So it's not always about what my first
need
2
to select roles,
preferences
or we're
were,
using the
it's
default?
also
You will.
they know you
No,
don't want to play
you'll have
solo, so it'll
select.
help
They're
you
kind
get
of
the one
ordered
you
in
don't want
a
to
few
get
different ways that
less.
If you don't want to think about it too much, and you're a new player, you can select that. There's also Phil, but I'll walk through some details here.
Okay.
Here we go.
So what's gonna happen with this system is that you're gonna assign roles 1 to 5, and if you don't get a top 2 role, you're gonna earn an amount of priority for your next match.
Okay.
And that in terms of like getting the most priority to the least, if you get your very bottom role, you're gonna get like high priority for the next match. You should be almost guaranteed your top role or top 2 at least. If you get your 4th role and then your 3rd role, those are kind of the same. But then also, if you decide to queue as Phil, you'll also earn a bit of priority for your next match as well. So if you don't have a specific role that you're interested in, but you kind of maybe eventually want to choose to play middle or support, like for sure, you can queue some games with Phil, and then you can say your role preference afterwards.
And if you click that Phil pawn, you can see your preferred roles there above the queue. Or you click Phil, it'll take you back. You can see you're now queued as a Phil. So that menu right there is where you'll exit that, and it'll show your current status.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this menu is super sweet, and we should show on the UI whether you have priority for your next match. I'm not sure 100% if it's in yet, but if it's not in, then we will eventually show you.
I've definitely seen screens where that's in progress, so look out for that. And yeah, the role definitions here are really good. So even if you're a relatively new player, you're coming to the game, when you try to keep Conquest, you see the screen, it lets you know that this is a role-based mode. You should order your roles, and you can kind of get a quick rundown of how each role works right here. Just introducing the system like that is really important. People are still, if you're truly a new Smite player where you're not necessarily going to retain all this information, and we're going to be working more to help them, guide them when they get in the match, but just having multiple places where you're kind of reminded and introduced to it over time is really good for actually building those skills.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked to some people who internally who have said that getting this system up and running is kind of a stepping stone for a variety of other helpful systems, especially for new players that we'll be able to continue implementing now that this first one is done. So it's a stepping stone to a lot of other really cool things.
Very true.
But awesome, thank you for that, Max. But we have more that we need to hear from. Moving on to Ranked Conquest. So there are some updates in the Ranked Conquest world.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. We got
Ranked
a lot of stuff going
Conquest.
on with Ranked.
It'll go based on priority. It'll go based on SR. Whoever has higher SR is always going to get that choice. Then it'll go based on preference, and then it'll just go based on random.
But we're making a few pragmatic changes that some of them more long term, some of them more short term. But a lot of great stuff came out of the first one, but we obviously encountered like some issues as to be expected.
Of course.
So right into the changes, going into the second patch here, we're going to be changing it up. So players will now be able to queue for ranked conquests in a party of size 1, 2, or 5. Solo players and duo queues will be back into the same queue, and then full parties will only play against other full parties. And to like give a dev note to that, we're internally very committed to making a really successful solo queue option for all players. But at the current, state of we're in an alpha, our population levels per regions, can be pretty varied, and we actually identified certain tech
one or
that
two
we just need to make sure that
in
solo
a
queue
stack
party queues
or
are
5,
successful.
yeah.
So we're gonna start developing that on the
They
back
might
end.
go
In the meantime,
back
we're
to
gonna
the
shift to
2, 3, or
something that
5
can be a
groups
bit
or
more
solo
sustainable.
queues
Get
as
two
the
most common
player
ways to
base
play
gets
ranked
higher.
solo and duo queue into
But
the
for
same
now,
queue
it's
again.
either 5 stacks
And then
versus
just
5
one of the most
stacks,
common pieces of
or
feedback was that
or
5 stacks
1s
have to
and
be against
2s
5
like
stacks.
normal Smite 1 for
We
right now.
thought that may be the case, and then the data started to come in. And even if you exclude like the SPL teams that were running down 5 stacks with insane win rates, 5 stacks they win too much against anything else. So we're going to be keeping those against each other from here on out. So got some great data. We know what we need to do moving forward, but we are making a change that's a little bit more classic. But we're going to keep the 5v5. And as a note for the 5 stacks, queue times, matchmaking, it's gonna be varied. Like, we don't have enough people playing 5 stacks for that to be a consistently well-established mode right now. But we want people to be able to, if you have 4 friends, you want to play a competitive game of Smite together.
That's probably going to
going
be least priority,
You can do it
especially in an alpha.
And we'll see.
Because
We'll
I think
monitor
the
that and
only
see where it
reason
goes.
anybody ever
And one
wants
last
to
kinda
text
base
anything in
change for
chat is to
Conquest
BM
that,
somebody.
Time to select a
It's
god
rarely
in
to be
the,
like,
draft
beads,
screen. We've lowered
minute
it from
40.
60 seconds to 45 seconds, so we're trying to get people into games fast.
I think that should be especially in an alpha with a lot of new players.
We got
Text
one
chat
other
should be the
kind of
least
pretty major
prioritized.
change
They
to
should
the
save
rank
that for
system, however. There
push
is still
that for
gonna be
months away.
A solo queue coming. I don't think that there's much in-game stuff to show off with this quite yet, so you kind of just have to look at me when I talk about this.
That's okay.
But yeah, we're gonna be introducing an elite ranked queue, and this is something that we were designing on the
Elite
back end
ranked
for a
chat.
minute.
Elite
We've kind
ranked
of
queue.
Moved it forward because we think it's going to address a lot of issues we have going on with matchmaking and making sure that like the best players are playing against the best players and making sure the best players also aren't playing against brand new players. So what Elite Ranked Conquest is it's going to be a separate queue that you unlock when you hit Diamond rank, so 3200 SR. This threshold can change in the future. It's a solo queue only mode, and for players above that rank, that's going to be the way to earn SR and compete on the leaderboard. So there's going to be details. I would go to the patch notes to read the specifics of it all, but
It's basically
Elite
making
Ranked
sure that
Conquest
if you
is gonna
are
be the
diamond
solo
up to
queue,
deity, you're
elite
playing
queue that
against
we have
diamond
set
up to
for our very
deity.
top players.
It'll
We
you can
expect
still
those
queue
games
the
to be
other
highly
mode, but this will
competitive.
give you incentives
We're gonna be
based on
monitoring that
gaining
a little bit more
SR.
closely than say the regular
But it's
queue to make sure
basically
that matches
keeping
are
people
going
below
competitive
diamond
in
out
that
of your
queue.
games.
Um,
But there will
and
be
yeah,
more
I'm
rewards
jumping
in
ahead
terms
to
of like
something
more
else. I don't know
SR
if we have
gain, more
this
blah 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 blah
in
blah.
quite
But it'll
yet,
basically
we
make it
have
so we are
leaderboards
never
ready to
playing
show
against
off when you
silvers and
navigate
whatnot
that
anymore.
one.
So it's
I
like
can
you can
see
unlock
They might
elite
be empty with
ranked.
data, depending
they
on
may
what
be,
dev build we're in. But I've seen them.
Your profile?
Yeah, under your profile,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
rank section there.
Yeah, the queue times could be long at first for
They
sure.
do have
It all
dummy
gets
data.
solved
Dummy
by
data. Show off the dummy data.
it all
I
gets
think I
solved
generated
by
the dummy
by
data.
player
Yeah,
base,
let's
right?
see.
It looks
From
that
the
looked
data
nice.
guy.
Player name 1 really lives up to his name.
That's true.
Player name 1
Damn.
goes crazy.
9,775 wins already.
Yeah.
That's some
He's
no
been
lifer.
grinding.
He's dedicated to this life.
Yeah, so once you the in-game leaderboard, it's going to show off the top 1,000 players, and then it'll also kind of show yourself and an estimated rank down there. And we got some cool more information going into this than we've had previously. So you see on the right, when you hover over someone, we're going to be showing off their most played role and also their
My
most
head's
played
blocking
gods
it, but it says
alongside
wins.
their
I like
and
support.
losses.
Right near my head. Wins,
True.
losses,
Hey,
most
hey,
played
anything's
role,
possible,
most
it's my
played
too.
god.
Yeah.
And that win rate though.
The dummy
Wow.
data's great.
The dummy
The
data.
dummy
is so
data,
good.
yeah, the dummy data is really accurate. So for players who really want to compete on this kind of like top 1,000 leaderboard, the kind of general idea is that Elite Rank Conquest will kind of encapsulate the 1,000 players that qualify for this leaderboard. So it's something to earn and unlock. You can lose out of elite ranked, but you have to drop another rank tier below. So if you are diamond, you'll unlock elite, and if you fall out of platinum, you will lose elite. So you'll have to re-earn it at that point. And we've also made a bunch of changes to skill rating calculations. In the first patch, there was a few bugs. There was just some straight up issues. Party reduction rules weren't working. I'd show people towards the patch notes. I made a chart for people to look at how high the max party rating and like skill rating and how low it can go before you start running into issues. We don't have all the UI in work for that quite yet, so you can refer to a chart I made in Python. And yeah, so we got a whole set of things coming to ranked. We're going to be resetting all players above 4,000 SR back to 4,000. So we expect to see some more competition towards the top end again. And yeah, I think that's it for what we have going on with ranked.
Yeah, so to clarify for everyone in chat, all of that was referring to ranked. That's not going to affect normal queues. You can still play those at any party size. The solos and duos or only 5-man is for ranked, and that's a potential temporary party distribution. We would potentially in the future return to solo queue or 3-mans playing against other types of parties in the future.
I'd even say that it's the plan to go back towards it in the future.
Okay.
But there has to be some technical changes, and there's certain things that we just have to have exist before we let that happen again. So,
and Elite Conquest is solo only.
Elite Conquest.
And once you've qualified for Elite, if you want to play in parties and play in non-Elite, you're going to get heavy SR reductions applied to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
So like grouped queues would basically be for content, right? If you just want to like play with friends, but you're not going to be worried about grinding SR. Maybe you've already maybe you're already up to deity, so you don't care about SR anymore. So now you're just going to play in groups and just hang out.
Sorry, those were just some of the things I saw.
Different stuff to do in ranked, which is good.
Please do.
And for anybody getting confused, there should be all of this is also written out in the patch notes. So again, smite2.com/news/ a bunch of stuff, closed alpha 2. Make sure to check that out because all of the cool stuff that Max just explained is written out in beautiful handwritten detail, including that chart that he made. So that should be in there as well. So, but yeah, really cool stuff. Super excited, Max. Thank you for joining and once again explaining all this all these incredible changes. But we have more to talk about.
Before I go, sorry to cut you off, Dan.
Please,
that's my bad.
No,
I just want to give people a general for it.
Okay.
Because I know that this section in the patch notes, I think it's called ranked matchmaking. We've made a lot of progress this kind of past, especially this last week, on matchmaking features. We're still not matchmaking based on SR, but those features are accelerating. We're going to keep people in the loop, but yeah, we got some exciting stuff coming up. Just wanted to put it out there so people know that work is happening and work's happening fast.
So when people say fix max making, the answer is we're working on it.
We're working on it. It also means max making means talk to anyone but me. It means talk to these guys on the couch, DM them. Yeah.
Hey, I had to field matchmaking complaints for many, many years, so the fact that you aren't doing it now is A-okay with me.
Oh, you, Max. Well, again,
people have been pretty reasonable. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, I see that.
It's because you're such a cool guy. So
that's true. He is cooler.
And thank you for coming out again and explaining everything.
Speeding up patches.
We're gonna keep moving on. So awesome. Excited for all those rank changes. But now we have items to talk about. So Max, you're going to explain? Oh, he's gone. I was going to have him explain all the items. All right, so let's get into some items. We have a lot of item balances we discussed earlier that we want to talk about here, so it's better we get moving. And again, we might not cover every single number, as I just pitched a second ago. Check out those patch notes for all of every single little juicy numerical detail. But we're going to dive right in because we have new and reworked items that we want to talk about, starting with Sunbeam Bow.
Yeah.
Sunbeam Bow.
This was an item that people might have seen in early testing, but it was just a stat stick.
Yeah.
It's using the Odysseus bow icon as a temp icon with some brighter red coloration there. It's a temp icon. Will be that update. It is not Odysseus bow, but it kind of functions like one.
A little dabble.
It's very different. And so this is going to be, let's see, we're just looking at the stats first, but we're about to go into a few new active items.
Okay.
I want to make active items more exciting, more unique. This is the first few. We're going to do a few new ones, and then we're already looking at ones that are existing to potentially change in the future. But today we got some new ones. So Sunbeam Bow is an active toggle.
Okay.
First active toggle is you can toggle this on or off all you want.
Old.
While it's active, you will fire 2 ranged projectiles with each of your basic attacks, and they're offset just a little bit to the side.
Yeah.
These travel the full basic attack range, and they deal 20 base damage plus 20% of your basic attack damage as magical damage. Item drains 5% max mana per second while active, so your mana goes down pretty quick.
Yeah.
But you can toggle this on to get a wider basic attack, essentially with bonus damage on the side. So if you hit like in the dead center, you effectively get a bunch of basic attack damage, but also helps you get some more chip damage. And what I think is most exciting about this item is you can buy this on a melee god.
Yep.
And you can toggle it on, and you could be swinging your sword and shooting these
projectiles.
beams
That's awesome.
at range. This is a strength and mana regen and attack speed item, so it's going to use a lot of your mana. So it's got mana and mana regen, but it was always kind of the stat slot we were working here with a sort of another strength attack speed item.
Yeah.
So that's where this item is positioned stat wise, and then you can active toggle it to do that cool effect. We could probably show it in game if we want, Pon.
Yeah, I have it up.
Yeah, let's see it. Do you have it on Amatersu?
Yeah. So this is not
Yes.
this is not new to Amatersu. This is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, people probably clip this and be like, new Ama feature. Actually, oh my god, I didn't even think about that. When I originally pitched Amatersu in Season 3, this was one of my pitches for her. Was to have like a basic attack ranged basic attack stim on a warrior.
Wow, full circle.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that until right now.
I am also going to mention the tech of it. It's for every single auto attack you fire, including hit chains. So the secret tech of Loki with his rapid attacks.
Oh no!
More of these off.
So you toggle it on just for the fast attack and then toggle it back off.
But you can see I actually drain my mana really, really quick.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you're managing it well.
Yeah, that's like a big team fight scenario. You're like, all right, it doesn't matter if I keep mana after this, it's win or lose.
And it's scaling off your basic attack damage, which means it's going to scale off strength and mostly strength.
Yeah.
And some int. So, building this on full tank is not necessarily going to be that effective.
No.
But a really cool item, something we've never really done before. You can give a melee attack.
Yeah.
Can now have ranged attacks.
It also opens the door for us to mess around with toggles in the future.
Yeah, I was about to say.
We have another toggle item coming up here that also utilizes that feature.
Yeah, the toggle tech is very exciting, and let's continue talking about it with Eye of the Storm.
So this was an item that's just been a stat stick for a long time. Didn't really have anything else going on.
Yeah.
We've had a couple passive ideas for it. We always wanted to have something. But this active effect, so this item is being a bit 15. That are not the same stats on the lower thirds that I have on this page.
Yeah, it should not have it.
It's okay. That I think was the copy paste issue or something like that. But Pon, can you confirm in the game it's both protections and health?
It's protections, health, and strength. Although I am on the dev build, so I don't know how much balance that we've done since then.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the stat rework wasn't that crazy for it. So it generally gives you the stats that it was before, which was strength, both protections and health. But now it has another active. Yeah, this is all the wrong text. Sorry, guys.
The next
copy paste. The next item got mixed up. We can go in game for Eye of the Storm now instead.
Yep.
So this is the other toggle. So like the Sunbeam Bow is like the DPS toggle. This is like the tank toggle.
Okay.
So you toggle this on to create a vortexing area around you. It drains 5% of your max HP per second while active, and it automatically deactivates if you get to 200 HP and you can't activate it anymore. Actually, maybe you can. But yeah, it lets you have a vortex CC that you can, as I'm fly around with and slow people down, pull people in, but it's going to increase your chance of dying while you're at it. And you can see that item, it's hitting you with item damage.
What is the difference between trying to run out of it though?
Can you reactivate it now that you're too low?
Why ticked you up?
Like let it tick down. I didn't think you could. Oh.
Yep. Now it's off.
Oh, and nothing. It's not. It won't talk. Yeah. So you cannot kill yourself with it.
Smart. Another very cool item, man. These toggle items are going to go so hard.
So we had active items, but most of them were just activate on a long cooldown. These are toggles. You can toggle them on and off. And they have a lot of what we think are more unique applications. They have a lot of unique.
Just give me that on Hades
opportunities to
with a full lifesteal build.
If they're too strong, too weak.
Having that on endlessly, while I just dash in, detonate, heal, alt, heal again. And there's just a double vortex dash on them again, and just keep it on for an entire team fight because I'm healing so much.
Any iteration before in Smite 2 before.
All right, it's called Life Binder. You might have seen the stats for it somewhere.
Right, we did just show it a second ago. So this is a medium or even a little bit cheaper gold item. It's a low int, high health, and cooldown. And this has an active that sends out a projectile that deals base plus per level damage. So this can work on tanks.
Yeah.
Work on tanks. Tanks effectively get a ranged poke ability from this. Or you could use this on a major, anyone, I guess.
Yeah, anybody.
When it hits a god, it'll deal that base plus per level damage. It'll also mark them for 6 seconds. And if an ally damages that marked target, it'll consume the mark and shield and heal that ally.
Okay, very cool.
So, like, as a tank, you'll be like, yo, get him.
Yeah.
You poke them, you mark them, and then your DPS your jungler can dive in and hit them, and they'll get a heal and a shield for hitting the target you marked.
Yeah.
And getting kills or assists will reduce the cooldown, so you can continue using that. It gives you a bit of a backliner support.
Yeah, for sure.
Feel, as well as some playing around with melee and ranged diversity, which usually like gods who couldn't poke now have an opportunity to poke. It's been a really fun item in playtesting. Pon, can we check it out?
Yeah. And again, I will mention we're in dev, so I actually think some items are starting to get a VFX pass, so you might see some stuff that you won't see exactly in the same way. But
all items in CA2 are still using temp effects.
Yes.
And a lot of temp art. But yeah, let's see with a full range of it. You can back up a little bit so we can see it.
How far? Oh wow, that has quite a range.
It's longer than melee attack range. I think that targeter, yeah.
That's cool. It's like a wave too. It looks like at least currently.
And you can see that I have the mark on them, and then right now that it isn't consuming, but it will consume. And so when I
consumes in the Alpha 2 patch, it consumes.
Yeah. Well, looks very good, very easy to identify as well, and yeah, super cool. I mean, that'll be a great duo lane item for boxing. You set up that against the enemy god, and then you go to trade and you win those trades. So
it's just fun to shoot a flick at people too. Like it is really fun.
Yeah.
Sunder plus Lifebinder Guardian build, maybe a meta thing where you can get even more additional activated damage.
Might be popping off a little bit.
Yeah, there's some really cool possibilities with this item.
Awesome. Well, we have one new item to talk about, and that is Avenging Blade.
Yeah, we wanted another. This is heavy strength, but with a little bit of health. We wanted something that was kind of aggressive, could flex between warrior or jungle.
Yeah.
And it's got a really unique passive here where the passive only works in the jungle. Damaging an enemy god with a basic attack while in the jungle slows them and reduces their protections.
Yeah.
So this is a really powerful
pen item.
Leveraging item. So if the other jungler's really bullying you, you can opt into this.
Yeah.
To maybe counter them, maybe prevent them from invading if they've been spending a lot of time in your side of the jungle. And
that's meant to be in the game, Vipers.
You'll be at a bit of an advantage in the jungle, but you'll be giving up potentially, passive effect that you wouldn't be getting in the lane.
Yeah.
It's meant to be in the game.
We had some things like Protector of the Jungle in Smite 1 that we liked a lot when we were brainstorming around those types of things. We wanted something a little bit more active and meaningful. It's like this has a proc, as opposed to the Protector of the Jungle was just on. It just affected everything. So you wouldn't really notice it, you wouldn't really pay attention to it, you just trust it was good. But this one you actually can feel and see, and it has some interesting counterplay to it, whether or not, because starter items are very restricted and they're very telegraphed.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas this one, you don't know if someone might you've been maybe winning all of your fights 1v1, a jungler versus jungler in the jungle, and then all of a sudden one of them shows up with this and it changes the whole dynamic of the fight.
Yeah, they buy the I own the jungle item, and it goes crazy. Well, cool. Another really cool item.
4 kind of new items for this patch, or reworked items. I mean, the ones before were essentially had nothing there before, so.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all intended.
4 new items, a new toggle tech. You love to see
it,
but
it's
the
all
item
intended.
train does not end there. And the next stop is relics. So we have some relic balance we're going to talk about.
We should have done this order differently because I know everyone's going to be screaming about the one we're going to talk about last.
Fair.
But for the relics, we're just doing some general balance to try to get them all feeling like they're closer together in overall power level.
Okay.
So there was one that everybody was saying was really, really, really OP.
Yep.
That's going to get nerfed. Sunder's going to get nerfed. We'll get there in a second.
Yeah, we'll get there. Grand finale.
Combat Blink, everybody still loves, and a lot of people are still saying, don't nerf it. Let's just adjust around it. Let's still try to get the other relics to better compete with Combat Blink. Okay. So Sunder was just way OP, was causing some big issues, and Hyper Snowball early game and multiple copies of the item.
Yeah.
So that one's getting big nerfed, and then the non Combat Blink ones are getting buffed to better.
To rise to that level a little bit.
Exactly. So we got Purification Beads, decrease cooldown.
Nice.
We have the Aegis of Acceleration, increase the duration of the movement speed buff that triggers, after the immunity effect. We got Phantom Shell, increase the HP per scaling, so going to be a little better in the late game, and decrease the cooldown.
And then the one.
Yeah.
Nerf.
So the Sunder nerf. So essentially the initial level 1 jungle damage is being cut in half. We talked to some pro players and some ambassadors, and they felt like this 200 felt like that had counterplay to it. Like the 425 was just like I win button.
Yeah.
But 200, you can kind of play around it. You can anticipate it. You can maybe outburst it to outcompete it without when you don't have it. Things like that. So that's a big nerf. We also nerfed the player damage. It's going to have less ticks, so that makes this math a little harder to tell. It's going to tick a little bit. It's only going to tick 3 times instead of 5 times, but the total damage has been adjusted, so it's also a damage nerf.
Okay.
Because long dots can just be frustrating and can feel inescapable.
Yeah.
And, interrupt you and things like that. So it's going to tick only 3 times instead of 5, and the overall total damage it's going to deal to you is also pretty significantly increased, and then also just a little cooldown increase. Pawn, anything to add on Sunder?
No, I think just mainly, especially when we're talking to people, the kind of invadey style of play where you're having to defend your jungle and people can start in different places. People are enjoying it. Just this made it too easy to just be like, I default win because I got there first and I have the button.
Yeah.
And so this opens up that play style to still be good, but not to just absolutely run away with the game with, and gives people counterplay opportunities. So it should create some really interesting dynamics in the jungle without being too much of a nerf to the item. Just a nice adjustment to make it fit more with where it really needs to.
And teetered more towards, or I guess away from that snowball thing that y'all were working towards getting away from. So
this was a big contributor to the snowball.
To the snowball thing, yeah. Awesome. Well, we have plenty more to talk about, and on to consumables now. Starting with the health chalice.
Yeah, health chalice has mostly just fixes, right?
Yeah.
So it was healing less than the normal potion that wasn't intended. It will now change its
a
icon
banana
to properly show you it's empty. We fixed an issue where it was actually only giving you 2
1,
charges
2,
of healing
3,
instead
4,
of
5.
the 3, and we have adjusted the stacking
No.
rules. So those are going to work more like Smite 1. So health
Health chalice is fixed. Yep.
will effectively stack with healing potions in potion stacking rules. So I mean, you can't have double healing going at the same time. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
When you activate a chalice or a regular potion, you're going to get the potion healing effect.
Boom.
And the way you stack that is to increase the duration. This is like what Smite 1 has. You can activate your chalice instead of potions and chalices having cooldowns.
Sorry.
You'll be able to activate them more quickly and stack up the duration.
Yeah.
But we do not intend to let you have multiple different healing potions running at the same time to double up the burst healing.
Yeah, just one really long healing potion.
Yeah, so this is kind of covered by this next bullet point. Thank you, production, for jumping right to that. Potions no longer have cooldowns. Potion durations can stack up to 3 times. And this all health and health chalice all contribute to the same type of stacking effect.
Same pool.
Right.
Awesome. And then there's one other thing to talk about, and that's the variety of wards that we have.
This is a big one, sorry about this one with all the last minute active item changes, consumable changes, everything we did in CA1. We changed the whole game in CA1.
Yeah.
Some little things got missed. So wards now have the proper Smite 1 duration of 180 seconds.
60 seconds was way too low.
With consumable wards, it makes sense to do that. When we were giving everyone's for free on cooldown, we wanted them shorter, more frequent, more quick loop, and the cooldown was lower. But now that you have to buy them, they're potentially rarer. We have the full duration, and the player who kills them will now gain 50 gold. Pon, anything to add here?
This also does count for the Eye of Providence. It does provide 50 gold as well, just as a note there, because the Eye of Providence one is a sentry ward. We might change that going forward, so I just want to make a note that so people are aware of it. That might change going forward, but it will work that way this patch. So Eye of Providence, that one gets placed down, will give gold to the person who kills it.
Any ward you kill will get the gold.
Yep.
So there's no special exceptions. And if that makes Eye of Providence a little weak, maybe we'll be buffing that item. And, that item was more designed without consumable wards, so I think we have to look at that one anyway. But as of right now, as a support player, I still love having Eye of Providence. Just the extra warding, I think, is really valuable. With these longer durations in playtesting, it's been really valuable.
Yeah.
So,
Vision is never not valuable.
Yeah.
So next up on the list, we have a single point under this next header, and it is a very big, bold, underlined point. We have a crit change.
That's right. When people were talking about wanting a nerf, what we were seeing a lot was nerf crit.
Nerf crit.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this is probably the
Thank
biggest
God.
nerf of the patch. A lot of the rest of the nerfs are a little bit smaller, but we're just decreasing the actual critical strike damage factor from 1.75 to 1.65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that 10% less damage on every crit item, it effectively nerfs, every crit item, every crit.
Yeah, every critical hit.
Stat, Jing Wei, she's going to get her own nerfs. Some of the crit items are also going to get other nerfs, just to make sure.
Of course.
But yeah, that's the one to kick off our like items section. And as we go into all these items, really what we're going to see
Thank
is
God, brother.
a lot of the top performing burst items getting nerfed.
Okay.
That's going to include a couple different categories, but essentially we're nerfing a lot of the really OP stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll share some things as we go, me and Pawn, about how we think that maybe will affect things that aren't even listed directly in the patch notes, but it'll still have an effect on those things.
Got it.
And I do also want to mention one other part of the crit nerf is there's a lot of the characters that have that kind of extra bonus scaling on their in hand. So think Crit Ymir, think Athena, where they get really big benefit from crit.
Yeah.
And this nerf, as well as how it interacts with items, allows us to keep those feeling strong when you aren't building crit,
Okay.
but tone down that effect when they do decide to go that crit path. So it keeps that being fun for the more general application case where they're building differently, without us having to tone it so far down that it doesn't feel like it hits at all when you're playing a non-crit build. So it just gives us more fine control. That's why we went this route over just strictly nerfing the crit items.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Well, with that being said, let's start talking about some of those nerfs, starting with stacking items.
Yeah, so essentially all of the Smite 1 stacking items we brought over are mega OP.
Yeah, very efficient.
Like, insanely OP. If you want to get the most out of your last few games before the next patch, you should be building these items in whatever role you can.
Literally from the devs.
Yeah. So Devourer's Gauntlets is going to get decreased initial strength and decreased strength and lifesteal per stack. It's just was giving way too many stats in general.
Got it. Transcendence up next.
Yep. Transcendence is going to see a similar nerf to its stats in the base strength and the decreased mana per stack. We didn't want to decrease too much the like unique effects on these items, so the mana to strength conversions and the flat penetration, because this is the only place that's really accessible in those items.
Of course.
With a slight exception for Book of Thoth, because Book of Thoth already had higher mana to int conversion, but you already generally get more int and more mana on int items, so it was like really, really double dipping. So you're going to see a decreased base intelligence in the Book of Thoth, as well as decreased mana, and a little touch to that mana conversion into int, because it's just these items are just giving so much power.
Awesome. And then the last of those is Gauntlet of Thebes.
And then Gauntlet of Thebes is going to be nerfed as well, and I got to put a couple Pawn and I got to put a couple asterisks on this one, because like this one just was wildly OP.
Yeah.
But we know that a lot of people were saying tanks did not feel effective in the patch.
Okay.
So we want to say, like, even though this one's being nerfed because this was like super mega mandatory. If you didn't buy it first, you were trolling.
This was about 2x effective compared to
2.7 or something items worth of stats
compared to like
on
every other item in the game, and so it became a you must build this or you are actually not going to be able to play.
Right. So this one's getting nerfed to be actually more in line and a more reasonable amount of stats that you would want as a tank. You still might want this item, but to let it better compete with the other items. And then a lot of the other things we mentioned today are DPS nerfs. Virtually every other change you're going to see today are burst damage nerfs, and we have a bunch of other tank item buffs.
Yes.
So overwhelmingly, this patch is a tank buffing patch.
Yeah.
But this one little, asterisk is on it, because if we left this in place, like, there just was a very hard path to get to balance.
Yeah, our goal was this item should still feel good to buy, but it shouldn't feel mandatory anymore. And we've done a lot of other tank buffs so that other tank items that felt underwhelming feel good. And we also have, as you're about to see, a whole bunch of things that are going to directly affect how effective people are at killing tanks.
Right, so the next section, segues right into this. Thanks, Pawn.
Yeah.
Penetration items. So we're nerfing a bunch of penetration items.
There's a lot of them.
Again, most of this came from a lot of the Smite
Putting me to
imported
sleep?
items.
Nah.
Imported over all at once. They brought a lot of sources of penetration and very high.
I'm just always
very
up at
high
like
amounts.
7 a.m. with my
so
son.
Many of these items are going to see adjustments to that. So
let's dive in.
Titan's Bane, decreased cost and decreased pen. Obsidian Shard, decreased cost and decreased pen. Serrated Edge, decreased cost and decreased pen. And Spear of Desolation, decreased cost, decreased pen. Yeah, so 5% pen off of all those items.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a lot of cases, the builds that people are really building that are very optimal right now, they are now just 10% pen less, which is a pretty substantial amount of DPS loss, especially against tankier targets.
Right, and in most of these cases, we didn't adjust the passives, and we feel like, two of them don't have passives, but the we're doing a bit of a shift here, not just a true nerf. So they will be a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Which actually I think still makes them really interesting. You can still rush them. A lot of these types of items people do like to rush, serrated and spear especially.
Oh yeah.
So you do get them a little cheaper, but just like that top end like full pen build, people were usually building at least 2 of these. I mean, many builds would include spear and gem shard, or titans and serrated, right? So you're losing 10 pen from those builds from building each of these.
Yeah,
so,
overall period.
Right, it all stacks up.
All right. So yeah, Spear of Death. We just talked about.
One sec, chat, grabbing a drink.
Yeah, this is not a pen item, even though I should have reordered this. That's my bad. There's a few other pen items, but this is just another extremely popular, powerful item. So just seeing a base strength nerf on this, and I think we were undervaluing the value of the passive on this one.
Okay.
So no shift, just a nerf.
No shift, just nerf. All right. So now we're into the Crusher.
Yes, so let's see. This is now we're into kind of like, oh yeah, this is a section like Hydras and Crusher and stuff are bonus proc items. So bonus proc on Hydra was really strong, so nerfing the base stats. Crusher bonus proc is really strong. This one maybe not as strong as it's been in some historical Smite metas, Pon. So just a little nerf, but like we know the proc damage builds are out there doing work.
Lurking.
Crusher nerf.
Speaking of the next one,
hit
right?
items
we know
nerf.
really needed it. Heartseeker.
Yeah.
So it looks like what 3% to 2%. It's only 1%. It's not a very big nerf, but it's like it's 33% of the total items damage from that, right? It's a pretty large reduction.
Literally 1/3. Yeah.
This item was putting up numbers.
Yeah, we were seeing builds where people were largely like just Loki decoy, and they did a metric ton of damage with all the procs, and that should be a lot more reasonable now. It should still feel pretty good, but it shouldn't just absolutely destroy someone walking forward.
Right. So as we see, like we get to the future, there's not a specific Loki nerf.
Yeah.
But that's because we felt like he got hit so hard with a lot of other anti-burst stuff, map pacing stuff, snowball stuff, and these items, so he doesn't have a direct targeted nerf, but there are still some gods who do. So Loki just felt the one who was like most susceptible to all these other changes, so he doesn't have a targeted god nerf.
Yeah, no need to kick him while he's down. So Demon Blades.
We'll see. He'll probably sneak back in as he always does. I
Loki.
saw a lot of the top ranked players grinding Loki for sure.
It is Loki.
Loki's been one of my mains because I've been maining jungle and he's been really good too. So.
Zeus.
All right, moving on to a few of the crit items. Like we know we nerfed the crit damage, but also we felt like the crit items were just giving you a bit too much of everything.
Yeah,
so like Demon Blade decreased the percent on the attack speed on the passive, and Musashi's decreasing the percent of the movement speed on the passive.
Yeah.
Crit you need to kind of build around, but getting so much of everything really makes those builds just like too strong. No brainer.
Yeah, too much stat with the crit.
I guess I lied. We do have one other support nerf on here.
Amanita Charm.
Amanita Charm. The most, another super must-buy, super powerful team item. So, slight decrease here on the total all active effect. But as I said earlier, with the active items, we're going to keep iterating on the active items, looking for the right place, the right power level. But like, yeah, this one was also like super mandatory, right? At one point in one of the tournaments that we see like the 4 mushroom team or something like that.
A solid build path.
So, sorry, had to be. Yeah, it's the tears with the gun meme. It's like, sorry, supports had to do it.
Yeah, right. All right, so moving on, War Banner's the next one.
Yeah, I put this one on here because this was like terrifying some people, but like in the game when you looked at War Banner, which is the upgrade of War Flag, it listed the same exact stats as War Flag. That was not the case. It was giving you the same stats as the other upgraded, the Heroism starter.
Yeah.
It just listed those stats wrong. So this is technically just a bug fix, but there was a lot of people out there who were like, War Banner sucks because it doesn't get any stats when you upgrade it. It just changes the passive. But no, it did all along. But a lot of people thought it was like nerfed intentionally or something like that, or they weren't sure. So I wanted to put it here and make sure we reiterated it.
Yeah, it was a UI nerf, but we undid it. So
yeah, we're not doing too much starter item changes, huh, today, Pawn?
Yep.
No, we only have. We have Bluestone coming up next.
It's definitely something we're going to look into in the future. But the one that we heard across the board was like overperforming the most was Bluestone.
Yeah.
And the upgrade.
Yes.
So like we didn't want to nerf Bluestone and buff Axe and like create like an overcorrection.
Yeah, kind of a.
Yeah, we also like globally affecting pen with all the pen items is a pretty big game change, as well as crit. There's a certain amount of let's make sure that we're hitting the things that need to be adjusted, but like there's a lot of variables that can create unbalanced situations. See how this all resolves, and that informs us of our next steps.
We have heard that Axe maybe is still a little underpowered, potentially even with this change going into effect on Bluestone. And we'll want to do a little bit closer look at some of the other starters and see if anything stands out as 2 stacked in one item's favor in each of the roles, because there's pretty clean like 2 per role right now.
Yeah.
But Yeah, this one for now. This one was the one that was outperforming everything else.
Awesome. So yeah, and that was both the first and the second tier of the item. And then the final item that we're talking about in this section, Bloodbound Book, getting a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, this is a shift, and we've seen a few more reports of other issues like this, so there'll be more of these, but we're trying to avoid issues where you could decrease the number of stats you get from upgrading an item. Yeah. Because the new system makes that possible in a lot more ways. So Bloodbound Book actually needed to have 15%.
Hey, what's up, Dark? How you doing, brother?
Do that. And in order to get lifesteal is really powerful in Smite too.
Oh yeah,
because it's ability and basic attack lifesteal, and it works on magical and physical or whatever. So it's like it works for everybody. So the cost had to go up with that as well. And yeah, we know there's a few more issues of similar things like that. Shout out to the ambassadors for reporting those. So expect to see more changes like this in the future to avoid losing stats as you go.
Awesome. Love not losing stats.
All right, now the fun part, right?
Now, the fun part. We're in
tank buffs.
Yeah, just lots and lots of tank buffs.
All right, well, Pharaoh's Curse be upon ye. What's going on with Pharaoh's Curse?
Yeah, so, I mean, we can just start going through this list.
Yeah, please, go for it.
We had a lot of underused items. We saw some underperforming items. Now that we're getting a lot of data from a lot of people really trying these things, we can really clearly see. And one common trend was, yeah, our tank items were just undervalued. They weren't providing what they needed to. So you're going to just see a lot here. So first off, Pharaoh's Curse. 10 extra protections, just a straight up increase of the protections that it has. Going into Leviathan's Hide, the strength debuff on the pass effect has gone from 10% to 15%.
Bro, that item's already busted.
This is wild.
This can really, really mitigate.
That item is already busted.
Yeah.
That means if you take 2 auto attacks from anybody, you're decreasing their strength by 30%.
35 to 60 protection.
Jesus Christ.
Nearly doubling.
Yeah.
Again, we're seeing how undervalued these items were. They weren't providing what they needed to, so a pretty massive jump here.
Nice.
Hide of the Nemean Line, I think, got the crown for the least winning item. It was
the losingest tier 3 item in the game.
Yeah, I think it was the losingest one. So this gets 15 armor as well as increased.
Safe place to start for reflect damage.
Yeah,
I think it's quite prudent of us actually.
True. Yeah, reflect damage is a very touchy subject.
Can be dangerous.
We are also increasing the reflect damage and the prots, but this should help it be a lot better off. Going on to Stampede, which is our next one, we've increased the protections from 45 to 55. You're starting to see a trend here on stuff we're doing.
Especially these items with only one type of protection.
Yes.
Because we added a lot of dual protection items, so we need to outcompete those. If you're going to buy a single protection, you need to really feel it.
Yeah, and so, if you're like, I really need physical protections because this person on the
been
team
very busy, yes sir.
It needs to feel impactful when you buy that. You need to feel meaningfully that you have stopped that incoming damage.
Yeah.
Stampede, getting a 10 protections increase from 45 to 55. Moving on to Talisman of Purification.
Okay.
The magical protection has gone from 30 to 45, so just giving a bit more magical protection as you cleanse your team.
We just want to see people using these actives too, like this AoE beads. Like we think it was a little over punished.
Who's not using it?
The effect.
Yeah.
Like that effect is strong, but it's still situational. It requires a lot of heads up play, making good decisions. So that stat was just too restrictive.
Mm-hmm. Next one up is Phoenix Feather, the secondary cheat death, pretty much.
I love this one.
We got extra health on there, but also
think we'll get some breathing room for a while. Hey, you love to hear it, brother.
Really helping you against the.
Hope everything's getting better.
Yeah.
This item is sweet.
Yeah, this item's
sweet item. Health tanks love me.
Oni Hunter's Garb, getting that magical protection increase from 50 to 65, more targeted against magic damage. Scepter of
that's it for the tank ones. This is just the other underperforming items, some of which were still tanky.
Yes.
Tanks
so,
eating.
Scepter Dominion, this is the one that creates a stasis field where no one can do anything, including your own team.
So fun.
That has now been cut in half. This item will be a lot more frequent when people decide to pick it up.
I love that.
Which can increase some interesting plays. So let's see how that goes. That one will be fun. Jade Scepter. We've doubled the health on it, so from 100 to 200 health, giving it that extra little bit of tankiness as you get that utility for your team.
Yeah.
On to Wish Granting Pearl. This one is the, I believe it's the health and int one.
Yeah.
That combination of stats are just a little bit inefficient together, so giving it that extra intelligence so that it really stands out, feels really potent when you build it, and you're trying to play that kind of more bruiser intelligence user role.
Awesome.
On to Golden Blade. The recipe cost has been decreased. Allowing you to get this for 100 gold cheaper. So just a little bit easier to pick up, a little bit easier to curve into your build.
Golden Blade in Smite 2 scales off of the bonus damage scales off of protections.
Yes.
You really kind of leaned into making it like a warrior item because that's where we saw it a lot more recently in Smite 1.
Yeah. Which will be better now with all the increased
so
protection.
So getting this a little bit cheaper makes sense because people always want it early game, and we had to kind of reassess the value of that passive. So like making it a little bit cheaper here without adjusting the stats just effectively tells you like we were trying to make the gold cost match the level of strength that passive has.
And then finally, Mystical Mail, we've shifted the damage from a kind of flat all the time to a 20 plus 1.5 per level. So you'll see this actually ends up being a lot stronger late game.
Yeah.
Significantly stronger late game, but in the early laning phase, by the time you actually buy this item, you've probably mostly gotten past the point where this would be weaker. So this is mostly a buff to the item overall.
Yeah, if you're picking it up like first item for some reason, then maybe not as good, but later in the game.
Yeah, and by then you just get 1 or 2 more levels, and you'll basically be at the break-even point, and then you're just going to be a lot stronger from then on out.
Yeah, nice. Well, a very concise, a very good section, a lot of good changes. Like I said, tanks are eating right now. But we have more to talk about still. That is not it. We have
new
gods
blade
to talk about. And we're better to talk about gods than in the new to Smite 2 category. Because, I mean, we all like seeing new gods come to Smite 2. So as y'all might have picked up from us talking about it and us being in game as Amatersu, we have 2 new gods coming, Amatersu and Nuwa.
Which new blade?
Ama. So, Pon, I bet you...
I know a thing or two about that guy.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
And I can't. I think it's so funny that I forgot my sweatshirt today.
What do you mean? She just can't be in 2 places.
It was a busy morning. Okay, I'm sorry. Shows are on Thursdays now instead of Wednesdays. I'm not going to blame anyone, but
we are in the Wild West.
It's my own fault, but you know we love this goddess. So here she is.
Yeah, Ama at last.
Pon's been flying around as her already. She looks great in Smite 2. She's got updated card art, updated ability icons, so you can see a bit of that card art update in the avatar image at the bottom left.
Patchnotes, yeah.
Map and the team bar.
Oh, the map looks so good.
So then let's talk about
the map. Looks so
let's
good
just talk about the kit changes.
With those walls.
I forget, how do we do
the
this?
walls are just such a slept-on, aesthetically pleasing change.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, baby.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Real Ama fans see that one right away.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so let's get into kind of what changed between Smite 1 and Smite 2 for Amatersu.
All right, so the new features for Amatersu in Smite 2 are first on her ability 1, Divine Presence.
Okay.
So now there's an additional buff that players will get when the buff is activated. So you can see in the 2 bullet points, the gold buff will provide a health shield for 6 seconds and the persistent movement speed aura.
Okay.
And the red buff will provide a attack speed buff for 6 seconds and the persistent int and strength aura. So like we wanted to do something with the AO1 to make it a little bit more meaningful when you activated it.
Yeah.
So instead of just kind of spamming it on cooldown for the heal, or instead of kind of just like toggling it and leaving it in movement speed mode because that's OP, it still is OP. So it's still probably the right decision in some places. But we wanted to actually reward the Amatersu players who were actually changing stances, and then so what it is an instant AOE that hits you and your teammates at the moment you change stance.
Okay.
So if you hit a bunch of allies, you will give them this little health shield. It's a relatively small health shield, but it does scale off of Ama's max health. So if you're building more full tank Ama, which she can kind of be played as a fringe support, you're going to give people a bigger shield, and she also gets the shield as well.
Yeah.
Or when you switch to red stance, you will give yourself and all allies around you an attack speed aura. So instead of just toggling to it early, you wait until everyone's grouped around the fire giant, then activate it, so you can get that attack speed burst and the instant strength burst from the AO1 aura. The other interesting thing about this AO1 aura on the red stance is that int and strength buff now scales up with intelligence.
Okay.
So if you build a tank and int aura, if you build like a tanky or intelligence build Amatersu, you will get a better strength and int aura to give.
Her
to
one
your
might be the
allies.
best item or the best ability in the game right now.
And we've already seen some in the flash tests and ambassador testing, like full int Ama gets like crazy numbers. Like
her one might be the best ability in the game.
You can do decent damage. You'll be squishy. Your basic attacks won't be good, but you'll give your teammates, what was it, like I think like 150
That's insane.
int,
yeah,
and like 100 strength
Yeah.
from the aura just being next to them. So you can kind of be like it's like a completely new playstyle for the character. So she is, I forgot to do like the high level intro stuff, but she deals only physical damage, but she does have strength and int scaling.
Yo, Fussy, thank you for the raid, brother.
Play her traditional
Yo, what's up, Pain?
basic attack,
Vid, how you doing?
laner, bruiser build very well still, but we kind of give her some new options for scaling that involve a more support style through tankiness and intelligence.
So she can give you
so that's
18.
The difference on her ability 1.
She can give you
Passive,
18% attack speed, 75 to 100 power of intelligence and strength.
Nice.
A health shield and like 20% movement speed.
Changes are. AO2. Now the mitigations she gets while the mirror is charging scales up with intelligence, and the mirror damage also scales with strength and intelligence. Actually scales higher off intelligence. So if you're full int Ama, your mirror shots become like actual like mage abilities.
Are your damage? All right.
Not quite actual mage abilities. I guess that's a little overspeaking. It's a little higher than the strength version.
Yeah.
The charge, as in Smite 1, only doubles the base damage when you charge it up, so you can't like super double quadra scale the mirror with int and the full charge. But it makes them meaningful, and it makes it that kind of like we did with Chalk and Odin. Like you have to be able to still deal damage with those int builds. It can't be pure utility scaling, or it's not really good enough.
Yeah.
And one other thing is there's a feels change on this one, which is we've allowed this to be fired a lot more quickly. There are some inconsistencies in Smite 1 that we've looked to resolve in Smite 2. So I can pretty reliably just quick fire this, which feels really, really good in practice. It lets you have a lot more control over this effect, which feels really nice.
Yeah, if you're looking for that enemy's getting away, you need that last second, last hit, you just fire it off real quick and have that under your belt.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Ability 3, not really any changes to ability 3. It's the silence. It's a line attack silence before, and then damage and stop on God dash afterwards. We've preserved most of the most recent tech that Amatersu has in Smite 1 for this, so that's this faster timings. There's no self roots. She can fully aim and rotate during the whole thing. So you like if you really swing it fast, I think you can even just like. Oh no, it all fires at the same time now, so you can't desync the. Yeah, that's the way it works in Smite 1. We iterated through a couple possible changes here, but we didn't like it. So this one effectively works like what you're used to in Smite 1.
Awesome.
And the ultimate has the last new feature, which is the third attack of the ultimate. Now hits a big circle sweep attack.
Yeah, the full swing.
Yeah. So you have to hit a god, just like Smite 1. You have to.
She's
hit a
in
god
as
to
of
progress
Tuesday.
to the next, or not a god. Have to hit a target for it to progress to the next stance. It's going to do increasing damage from the first, the second, to third hit. It's going to do just damage, and then damage plus slow, and then damage plus stun on the third hit. But now this third hit is that full circle sweep. It is a little bit longer animation time, so it maybe is a little bit of a trade-off in just chasing down and executing just one targeted god.
Yeah.
It'll slow you down a little bit, but it bolsters her team fight presence
for sure
a lot. And kind of a few of the other changes we made here was to kind of let Ama. She always did that anyway. She was kind of like a she might struggle a little bit in the early.
Am I ending after this? It depends on the sub goal.
Solo laner, but then you get to the mid to the
patch notes will probably end at 8 hours, but we're 9 away from the sub goal, so I guess it depends because that'll be another like hour or so. So we'd probably just do some viewer games or arena or something. I probably wouldn't go to ranked for an hour.
Too similar. So really trying to make her unique features shine, so that's essentially really playing up those AoE buffing effects through new skill related timing on the AO1 and scaling it through build, and then this larger conditional CC that she can really use to change a whole team fight in a way she couldn't before.
There it is. I was just thinking the combat blink for the third hit into the middle of the team goes incredibly hard, and all of that isn't even a commentary on how beautiful this looks, or like Amatersu looks moved into Smite 2. Like obviously our team has done a lot of work to bring the character from that old engine into the new engine, and the effects look beautiful and the character looks beautiful. So
yeah, the shield's nice and gold like the sun. Also her clothing has like actual like the clothing's emissive itself, which is cool.
That is really cool.
The mirror is golden now as well. I mean, did you just say that? Sorry.
Yep.
There was something. Sorry, there's something else I was gonna say. Now I forgot it. It's okay. But yeah, we're trying to keep a lot of the Smite 1 parody here. A lot of Smite 1 feels, the polished things you're used to, but just add some unique things here in a few key places to really make the character work. Oh, the passive meter. Did you touch on that? It's like it's updated art, but it still functionally shows what you're used to. It shows the stance you're in, and it shows the mirror charge.
Well, it looks like it might be.
It's all of a sudden it's broken. Maybe we cooldown cheated it too much.
Yeah, I think I cooldown cheated it too much. Unfortunately,
it will show. Don't worry about that.
Just dev things.
Just dev things.
Was there anything else?
Was there anything else? That was going to be my question for you. Because otherwise, we do.
I think we shortened a little bit of the post fire on the dash. So if you dash into a god, the time you can start attacking is faster. Oh, another thing I just want to get ahead of on the dash is like we currently have some god body blocking bug that we are aware of that we're still looking into fixes. Not for this patch, but probably a future patch. But it can result in, if Ama's right on top of someone, you might feel like you're going to hit them, but you dash through them, which I know is something that people like historical complaint about this goddess they really want us to fix.
Yeah.
So you might experience that. It is known. We think it has to do with the god body blocking issue, not so much the Ama dash issue.
Okay.
So you might encounter that rarely, or at certain gods like Mordred with his interact dash.
Yeah.
Things like that are really tight on collision and people dashing through each other, you might like feel like you dash through someone, but it is like overall I think really clean upgrade of the character, and a lot of these pain points we are aware of in Smite 1 we're hyper aware of in Smite 2 and making sure we don't reintroduce and make sure those bugs are fixed.
Awesome. Well, and as always too, we'll be looking for y'all's feedback once this goes live. We're looking for people to play Ama, to, you know, if you have that bug, let us know so we can continue looking at those instances and why it happened. But otherwise, just let us know how the character feels, especially if you played Ama a lot in Smite 1. Knowing how this character feels in Smite 2 is going to be really helpful for us because we can continue to refine that experience and stick to the strictly better mantra that we have lived by over here in the world of Smite 2. But that's not the only god that we have coming here. We have Nuwa as well joining the Smite 2 crew.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And this god's got
Bit
a
cooler,
lot of
yeah.
new stuff.
Yeah, Nuwa,
Amatersu was perfect. She didn't really need anything, but we wanted to give it to her anyway, right?
Yeah, just because we love her.
But
Nuwa got some, like, as correct me if I'm wrong, as the most played god in Smite.
that is true. As of the most recent stats, Nuwa is the most played, the most individual play minutes total in Smite 1.
Yeah.
Dedicated to Nuwa. More than Neith.
But
More than Kukulkan.
yeah, crazy to think.
So when
of.
you guys like,
Played
right,
character in
it's
the
not
game.
super
By the most
exciting
fair
to bring
way of
Nuwa
measuring
over.
it.
However,
Yeah.
like if
But,
it
you know,
is
we
the
looked at
god
that
that
and
is
said, that's
played
cool. We still
most,
think that we can make some really fun.
it's not a
impactful
bad
changes,
idea
and
to
that's
bring
what we
her
have
over.
here. So are we able to? You good for us to hop in game?
Yeah, we can hop in game. I'll just show off some stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of the stuff might not be as obvious, but we'll go into it when we get into it.
Yeah. Again, true Nuwa fans might notice, but we'll talk about it in just a sec. So let's see the kit.
Let's just do this first. Okay.
Let's get them. Dude, just the effects.
We're just gonna keep walking backwards here. Man, I'm still hitting from really far away. That's crazy.
Oh,
That's wild.
I wonder what did that.
Wonder what did that. That's weird.
All right, well, let's start talking about it. So, what is new with Nuwa?
Okay, so Nuwa mainly has
New Nuwa.
Nuwa really wants to focus now on the kind of 5 strengths of the elements that she has within her kit. So that's wood, that's water, that's earth, that's metal, and that's fire. And each one now has some adjustments to it. So the first one is Strength of Wood. That was her original passive where after 5 auto attacks, her next auto attack would root. That's now cooldown based. So after 15 seconds, your next attack will just immediately fire and it will root. So you can see that was that there, and it's building up.
Nice.
Every successful auto attack will jump that up more and more. So as you successfully auto attack more and more, you'll get that more and more frequently, and you'll be able to root again. That's
both.
Yes. So that's its first change. It has some interactions with the other parts of the kit. We'll go through each individual strength, and I'll kind of show you how they combine.
All right.
The next strength, the Strength of Water. So this is the strength that she gets when she's used her fog ability. And this one is just a buff that she and her allies get. They get her move speed, and you can see that it actually persists quite a bit outside of that.
Oh, yeah.
That one is more just kind of this buff that she brings. Not too much different than what we saw before.
Strength
It's
Nuwa
a shout
could
out
be.
to the old. There's a couple hidden things here. Shout outs to her old kit, her old kit.
Yes. The second one is Strength of Earth. Strength of Earth is granted, and you can see your passive meter updates as she gets each of these strengths.
Yeah.
Strength of Earth. Previously, these minions, when they charge and locked onto a target and dashed at them, ignore that they are doing some stuff with cooldowns. They'll do some weird things with cooldowns. But it used to be that charge would give a penetration to the target. It would actually shred their armor. She now just gets Strength of Earth, which grants her immediately pen that she can use on anyone.
Okay.
It's no longer tied to the minions actually having to attack someone.
Yeah.
She just gets that benefit out the box.
And did you mention that on Mysterious Fog, if allies step through it, they get the movement speed buff for the duration? Okay, sorry. I'm reading chat, so I'm just like double checking if anything was missed.
All good.
Awesome.
So those would just allow the movement speed buff and that penetration, just makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Now, the next biggest change is going to be on Shining Metal. You fire it, it does the things you expect. It blows up the minions that charge forward. It does the things that you know. But you can see that I actually have a Strength of Metal buff. Yeah. And with Strength of Metal, it turns my auto attacks into AoE auto attacks.
Oh, that's so cool.
So this opens up, just immediately opens up a whole bunch of different build varieties. But two of the main things are, each successful auto attack lets Strength of Wood come up sooner, which includes the
AoEs.
The AoE.
So you're triple
AoE
stacking the speed of the root.
Okay, you're getting the root a lot more quickly, and it will spread the root itself. So that's how I was able to root all the other Ymirs around.
Yeah.
And it's people are asking if you have the root charged, does it consume on fire or on hit?
It consumes on fire.
Okay, so it still consumes on fire. When your root is up, you got to make your next attack count.
Yeah,
if
don't
you
miss.
It's gone.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, chat wanted clarification. Thank you, Bon.
And then the final one, which is after you ult, you get Strength of Fire. The ult works very similarly. It does damage, globally reveals targets, hits everyone on the map. But now I have Strength of Fire, and this now turns my auto attacks into very, very long range auto attacks.
Yeah, that's huge.
I want to say it's something along the lines of like 40% or 50% larger. Like it's significant. Like how far I have to actually walk forward to start hitting this Ymir again.
So now
our
powers combined.
So if you were to do things like Strength of Earth, ult, you get the pen for this ult, which is really, really good. And now you now have super long range AoE auto attacks that could root if you hit enough people and throw it out. These all stack on top of each other.
These are all really good changes.
The base kit largely functions identical. You have the standard.
These are all really good changes
to use. You have the fog. You have the minions into the explosion combo. You got the global ult. But now you just have this whole new loop layered on top of the in-hands.
Yeah.
And you get to do a lot of really neat things combining these different effects. It's very reminiscent of Old WoW.
Yeah.
This is very cool.
A lot of these different in-hand augments.
This makes New WoW much more exciting rather than just how boring she kind of was.
And in a loop within her gameplay loop that it's going to be interesting to see how people flex with, if in-hand builds become really good with her, or if these are just really nice bonuses to have as you're just playing standard New WoW.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And like you said, crazy that so many old WoW features look similar.
I mean, I don't think you're going to build her ADC by any means.
But it's a whole nother layer to the gameplay, which I think is exciting.
You can.
I'd like to see this make her a little more.
You can, but I don't think.
I think that being able to really learn the finesse of all of the different in-hands will help this character shine in a totally different light while still being super accessible to newer players.
Yep.
So.
Some additional, maybe just notes on top of that. At least right now, I believe we are gonna let these gods into ranked immediately. No ban window. We know people want more gods, so why would we ban ones in ranked that we just released for you?
Yeah.
Right? If there are any major bugs, they might be temporarily disabled.
You only have AoE for like
the goal is out the gate
is to
let them
I don't know.
Immediately enter
I don't think like
pool
a few seconds of AoE is going to necessarily mean you build crit.
We know people are hungry for that.
Yeah, we know y'all want.
He's going to build her crit,
we're trying to get them to you.
Yeah, we don't. I don't have too much other concrete evidence, things to talk about on that, but I did want to shout it out. So
that makes sense.
So thanks, Dandy. But we're seeing a lot of discussion about the gods and which ones you.
He's going to show it now.
All you having those conversations. We're not going to make any official announcements right now, but we are seeing that feedback. We're taking it to heart. We are looking at which gods we might be able to do sooner versus later, how we might be able to get even more out faster. All those types of things are in progress. We are working towards those.
Yeah.
The spoiler list that's been going around is not fully accurate. Even before we started planning changes, it was not fully accurate. It was not that far off, but it wasn't fully accurate. So we are, taking that seriously. We are making 3-week patches, so 2 gods through 3 weeks is a relatively quick pace, but we're going to see if we can do it faster. We're going to do our best to do that.
We're always listening to y'all's major feedback points, and we are trying to action them. Like, that's the funny thing about spoilers is spoilers might it's like, oh wow, I found the spoiler, but it's like things change here like weekly, almost daily. It feels like so. We are constantly.
It started an hour and a half ago, brother.
Philosophy and
it starts at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Build this game with
You've missed the entire patch.
We are open to change. The game changed a lot between true alpha weekends and closed alpha 1.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And now that we're in closed alpha 1, we're working towards free to play, and we have a different player base coming in.
3 p.m. Eastern Thursdays now.
We are going to keep pivoting as we need.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to make every god feel exciting every release,
for sure,
and we're going to try to make as many as we can as fast as we can without making major mistakes.
Yeah, without making the game unplayable.
One thing, just to circle back, because I realized we forgot in the same way we did on Amatersu. We didn't actually say what type of scaling she uses.
Fair.
Yuwa is a who deals magical damage.
Yeah.
And she is an int scaling character.
So-
She scales just off int.
Full
She
magical,
has-
full int.
Yeah.
You obviously see there's a lot of in-hand potential. You could flex around with that as well, but everything is largely int scaling.
Yeah, if you're
How's
not
the
building
crit
strength,
roll
you're
been
not
doing
building
internal
auto attacks with
playtesting
her.
profile?
So
I mean, I
Alma's
think everyone's
kit
just
is
been
pretty well the
favoring,
same, but
the
it's
standard, I
it didn't need a
drop
big
clay
change.
soldier on someone and blow them up instantly.
It is good.
That's very
classic.
effective. It's hard to compete with that level.
Yeah, the old gold.
But like he just said, she scales with intelligence, so I don't think you'd really build physical on her.
Exciting. So let's get into some balance, starting with a few nerfs actually. So Mordred hit the
New God OP, right? New God OP.
New God
Everyone
OP.
agrees. New God OP.
Yeah.
Actually, Mordred's not that OP.
No.
So he's getting some smaller nerfs here just to his passive.
Yeah.
Slowing down his wrath gain. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a passive amount that he was getting that's lowered, and then just the amount he's getting from when he deals damage is a little bit lower, just to lower the frequency of that charge ult.
The scary heartbeat ult. Yeah,
Right.
got it. All right.
That thing is terrifying.
It is terrifying. So Ares up next, been a little strong recently, so getting a nerf.
Yeah, so even though we talked a lot, or Pawn, I'll let you talk about Ares, but before, just high level, we talked about tank itemization and tank like as an archetype.
Yeah.
But there's still some tanks that we need to nerf, and usually there are some specific damage features of tanks we need to nerf. I saw one being talked about a lot in the chat. We're talking about it. Don't worry, we're going to talk about it too. But go ahead.
I know which one you're thinking of.
So Ares, just Blessed Armaments is this aura that he really provides a lot of strength and intelligence to his team.
Oh, yeah.
This is kind of like an invisible level of power that makes him very, very effective. And so rather than just nerf it, because it was causing him to be very successful, we wanted to nerf the amount that he gives to other people, but keep the amount he gives to himself at 100%.
Okay.
So his internal strength will remain unchanged, but the amount that he's actually buffing his team is gonna go down, just to make sure that it is this constantly on effect, providing a lot of power, still very, very effective, just going to be a bit more reasonable.
That makes sense. So again, New God Broken, Jingwei coming up next with some nerfs and a little bit of a fix to her agility.
One big fix / buff, which is hard to put. We wanted to get it in there anyway, even though by most accounts this is the strongest god in the game right now.
Yeah.
By most accounts. So we're doing a couple different nerfs. So let's see. That's a fix, so just a text fix. Explosive bolts cooldown increase. We know that the explosive bolts is a big point of discussion for her.
For sure.
That was her new feature though, so we don't just want to like rip that right out. So
Yeah.
we're looking at some nerfs to it. Her ability 3 is going to be adjusted in its the agility, adjusted this ability so the speed of the dash is specifically to make it feel more like Smite 1.
Got it.
You'll still be able to control it, but we making that faster, snappier, what it was intended to be really. And we added another text fix for there, and then airstrike damage. So like the real direct nerfs to Jingwei is the cooldown and the damage on the ult, and many item nerfs.
Yeah.
Yes.
A variety.
Specifically the crit
yeah.
damage, which this is like the most crit using god.
Yeah, if this feels light, that's kind of why, right? A lot of the build path for her is being directly affected, and so she's going to be coming down just as a result of that naturally, let alone anything else we do.
Yeah, similar to how we spoke about Loki earlier.
Yes.
So, awesome.
Pawn, are we going to show anything else in game?
I don't think so, unless you have anything specific you want to see.
Go back to the front end and maybe let's go look at Amatersu and Nuwa's mastery rewards after we do the god.
Ooh, good idea.
Just a quick look if they're there.
Yeah.
It'll have to be careful on Pawn switching screens.
Yes, I am very scared about that.
Just
but
only go to the one screen and don't press anything. You'll be fine.
Do not switch to me right now.
Don't go to Pawn yet until we say. All right, who's our next god?
Spoilers. Ymir. We have Ymir on the list.
Oh yeah, Ymir doing very well as one of the tanks. His damage from we really wanted to push that face punch Ymir to make sure it was good. We pushed a little too hard, so we're just walking back that nerf a little bit. We're nerfing it a little bit more on the strength side than the int side. So we still want him. If you build some int, we want Ymir to feel it. We did some adjustments with his ult and stuff like that in previous patches to make sure. I saw some clips of people literally one-shotting each other with full int Ymir.
Yeah.
So we did not nerf the passive bonus basic attack. This is essentially the bonus basic attack damage he's getting.
Yeah.
And if this looks light to you because it's a small percentage change, again, crit adjustment, that's going to massively affect
the items will be doing a lot of leg work.
Right. So some nerfs to that.
Yeah. So next up, another tank that I know was wreaking havoc in my games anyway. Bacchus getting a little nerf.
Yes. So we nerfed the damage from Chug from it's scaled up to 80. It's now just going to stop at 60.
Yeah.
So that's a 20% scaling nerf. It's a pretty big scaling nerf. And Belly Flop is also getting a pretty big scaling nerf from 60-60 to 40-40.
Yeah, the amount of damage that he was getting from building pure tank was just too high. We want when you build pure tank that you do enough damage to impact a fight in a meaningful way. Like you feel like you meaningfully contributed, but this was you were able to like actually.
Yeah, they were. I was getting absolutely belly flopped. So so the Morrigan would be next on the list, moving away from tanks a little bit.
Yeah, so this is Doomsayer is the passive that went on the next the final auto attack. She does the AoE and this applies the % health damage. We made this actually affect everything because it's kind of weird that it affects some things and not others. Fair. But when it affected the Fire Giant, it did percentile health of the Fire Giant. And if you did things like built crit, because we also wanted it to crit because we think that's interesting and might open up some interesting avenues of play, it could crit percentile health damage the Fire Giant.
Seems like a lot of people aren't liking the patch.
That's now been reduced by 80%. It
seems like a lot of people aren't liking the patch.
It contributes quite a bit of damage, but this should no longer allow the Morgan to solo the Fire Giant and Titan and jungle bosses.
That makes a lot of sense. So next up, our flying samurai, Susanoo, getting a nerf.
This god was, as usual, like running.
There was like
a lot of people who are playing the high-end ranked. This was one of the top picks, probably the second top pick after Jingle.
Yeah, there was a leak of like a list. I'm not sure though.
Straightforward damage scaling numbers. He's going to be heavily affected by the item nerfs as well.
Of course.
But we wanted to make sure we really hit him because he was all over the place. He's got so much utility, CC, and damage all built into one kit. So taking down that damage scaling, especially at the top end.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've nerfed the nerfs. Now we have some buffs that we're going to talk about.
That's it for the nerfs. And if any god that, wasn't on there that you really feel like needs nerfs, we tried our best to convey that we think the items will probably affect them in some way. But, there might be some more that needs to happen. I think this patch is going to change a lot. So we'll see if Bacchus needs more.
What are you
nerfs,
hearing about? I just see people on Twitter saying this patch is awful,
yeah.
dooming tweets, etc., etc., etc.
A few that didn't get buffs are going to be, have a better chance because of the better gods getting nerfs, and and mages specifically not getting nerfed nearly as hard as hunters, maybe coming up a little bit. So if you don't see your favorite god on the buff patch, keep in mind the item changes might help them, and we'll be definitely looking closely at them for next patch.
Yeah, looking for that feedback like always, and just those hard numbers. So just play games, and
it's crazy that right now with the reset on the new game,
I know people look at it and they could say they want more, they want less.
Like we're getting close
I don't ever really have thoughts. It's just a lot of changes. A lot of them were
literally
good. The map
but, like,
looks
we're
better.
close to it. So
In terms of like the meta, where it's like, what about the meta? What happened to the meta? I don't care. People thinking that they can just see numbers. I mean, I give my opinion on it sometimes too. Oh, that's perfect. Cripple back on CERN. Thank God.
It's a good counterplay item, right? It's a skill shot. It's narrow, but it has a really strong counter effect.
People having the idea that they can look at these numbers and just assess and just say, oh, the meta's gonna like. You got to give it a couple weeks of playing. Like, because right now it's like, oh God, all these tank buffs. So this is just gonna be bad, right? But it's like, I don't know. Everyone's just kind of dying instantly right now. So maybe this will even it out. Maybe like I know we see all these changes. We're like, yo, here's a tank meta, but like right now everyone's kind of just getting one shot, right? So we'll see.
As a whole, because you can better directly control where you want them to go. Yeah. Including if you get behind, if you leap and then send it to your team.
Yeah, of course.
This is just going to be a way to better play around it, a more consistent experience.
Yeah, like you said, more predictable. So next up, we have Bologna, the warrior, the amazing warrior.
I agree, it's way less fun, but that the changes that they made don't inherently mean the time to kill is
really hard,
much higher.
Penalty there. Yeah. So we're making this back towards Smite 1. So that's
the changes they made don't inherently mean time to kill is just much higher.
Passive strength scaling was causing different damage to deal. Due to the way Pond,
this very early in Smite testing, we had way higher.
I think they will be higher.
The cleave, it's kind of a legacy that the cleave
was
nerfed in the first
for
place.
a tank or two, yeah. Like carries and assassins and mages fighting each other is still going to be like instant deaths, yeah.
Because of the way that was previously calculated before and how the cleave was working, especially for early testing.
What, buddy?
There was a slight error in the calculation,
you gotta go potty?
Which meant that she wasn't dealing consistent damage on all
buddy,
the
I hear you. I'm working. What do you need?
Fixed, so now you should expect the cleave to work as it should. Is largely what this bullet point says.
Awesome. Right. Video games require math, and that's scary and hard.
And math's rough.
Math is so rough.
Han, don't lie to them. They know you're a mathematician.
Yeah, 1 out of every like 4 million people. You are a shining star. Speaking of shining stars, we have Soul up next with another buff.
Wow, what a segment.
Yeah, we added the slow immunity to the initial duration of Disapparate. So this is before she turns into the solar ball that can't be damaged.
Yeah. That's a good change, but I'm surprised she didn't get a nerf.
Ability to make sure that she's not being.
I guess the crit nerf will nerf.
Nice. Next up, a buff to my favorite god to click on during the
I think they just needed to nerf her passive. I think she just gets too much.
This is a cool one, bringing the ultimate.
I think she
really
just gets
low.
too much strength and intelligence.
cool.
Like, we don't usually go that low on ultimates. There's a few exceptions, but we're doing that for Zeus as well. Like, this
What's wrong with
just
them? Nothing's wrong with
makes
them.
the alt frequency.
Yeah.
People get out of it a lot. You have to really do a lot of setup to make it good, but being able to use it a lot
Nothing's
more
wrong with
often will be really strong.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, as one of the mages that was struggling a little bit more this patch, I think this is a really cool change, and we're excited to see where he goes. And you can always still just play him full crit too, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and the ult's visually impactful, so at least you get the glory of seeing it more often. So, well, unless you're the enemy, but don't worry about it. Neath up next, Broken Weave.
Yep. She is one of our hybrid characters where she can go either strength or intelligence.
Yeah, she works well.
The Broken Weave passive really only
The
gave her
one and whatnot
intelligence,
being fixed.
when she
Bug
was
fixes
going
like that
down.
are not saved for
So
patch
this just
notes.
makes so that she also gets strength scaling as well. So when you are going
Bug
more
fixes like that
standard
aren't
kind of
inherently
in-hand
saved
crit
for
focus
patch
or
notes. They're
prop
being
focus
worked
mode,
on.
It's just going to be more.
They are
effective.
being
It's
worked
gonna
on
work better
daily.
with your build path and not be so limited to one side of the scaling tree.
Sounds good. That's one of the reasons I love Neath. I love that going either.
They don't save
side.
bug
And I think we
fixes
saw, like,
for
strength
patch
Neath
notes.
was actually like really,
Those are
really
genuinely being
underperforming
fixed every
compared to
single day.
Neath. So this also should help even that.
There's
out.
just
Yeah.
thousands
Ability
of
burst is
bugs.
fun to build.
Genuinely, thousands.
So Athena up next with Reach.
No longer affected by in-hand slow when throwing reach. This is another Smite 1 parity change, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is.
We tried to call out as many of those as we could, but we missed it on this one. But yeah, again, just makes the passive feel better, and it feels it's what you're used to, right? So it felt just unnecessarily punishing.
Yeah, I think you're a bit biased
feels
as
more
well
natural
because
to
I don't
what
think
you-
this is a
what your
bad patch, and
experience is.
considering
Yep.
it's subjective
but
on
not
what
least,
people like and
for,
dislike,
God
just because you
buffs, we have
dislike
on
it doesn't
her
mean
with
I'm
Impale.
biased
Yep,
towards
Impale's
it.
just
It just
getting
means
a
I
base
actually
damage
think the
increase.
patch is
He
good.
lost a
Just
lot of
because you
base
don't
power.
and we disagree
Some
on
of
it
that
doesn't mean
is,
there's any
uh,
bias. I could
because
say
you
the same
get
thing and say
strength
you're
now
biased
as you
against it
level
because they
up.
didn't change a Loki bug that you want to change. So
So it's not as
it's not really a
low as-
debate I
as
can
think
have with you
people are comparing
because
between
you
the
just
two.
saying
This
I'm
is
biased
even
for
gap,
it
just
because
make
it's
so
awful, and
especially
I'm
for
saying
early
you're
game, that
biased
extra 50
towards it
damage
because it's
matters
not.
for
Then
really
that's just
clear.
the end of the
Like,
conversation,
even
brother.
if it's losing an auto attack, it's just going to help you burst
He
people
can
down.
he can
Just
give
helps
his
him out
side.
overall.
Yeah.
There's
There's
nothing
a lot
wrong
of
with him
community
giving his
feedback that
side.
he felt like
There's
that
just
was
no
the
debate to
lowest
have with somebody who
performing.
just says you're biased. This
So,
is awful.
yeah,
Like,
Impale
okay, you
feeling
don't have to like it, brother.
really is meaningful damage is one of the most important things in making on here feel strong.
Yeah. Awesome.
So do we have time to go look at the god masteries real quick, Pawn? Are you in a safe screen?
I believe in a safe screen, but yes, we can go to me. But you have added the danger button at the top left, which is the
arrows.
I can move. So I just have to stay away from the top left of the screen.
Don't click. So here is Ama's mastery track. There's the shadow skin. Let's look at the trackers real quick.
It's fine
We'll go
for,
through it
for
quick.
people to not like it.
Oh,
I'm
that's
disappointed.
subjective.
It's not
Sorry, let's
fixed,
start
but I
with
didn't like anything I read on it.
ascension
If
tracker
I like
on the
something,
far
I'd say it
left.
regardless of the bug
The,
wanting to be
under
fixed
the
or not.
button.
Oh,
That's
you
fine.
want these.
You're allowed to
Sorry,
not
I
like
see
it.
what you
I
mean.
like it
The
regardless of
unique
bias.
tracker.
Yes.
So it's the
I like the
mirror
changes.
kills.
The map
So you
changes
track
are
how many
dope.
people you've literally gotten
The way the
killing
map
blow
looks
with
are
on the
dope.
mirror
New on
shot,
Amatersu
which
look
is
dope.
hard
The
to
nerfs
sound.
to
Yeah,
crit
it's a-
are
it's a
dope.
super
The
swag
buffs to
way
some
kill
tanks
someone
and
with
tank
one
items
versus
are
that.
dope. I could sit here and name a
Okay,
lot of
let's
things
go
I liked
through
about
the-
it. Do I think some more
the
things need to be
track.
changed?
So
Sure.
we got the
But
standard
if
objectives
you can't
of
find
stairs.
anything you like in the patch, I don't know what to tell you, brother.
Number of times stunning at least 2
If you
gods.
didn't like
2 or
anything
more
you read on
gods
the
with
on the
third
on the
hit
patch
if you want
notes,
to.
then we're
That's
just
really cool. That's
we're
a
just
fun
entirely
stat.
on opposite ends of the
We
spectrum
have
here.
the
So
onyx skin.
Beautiful.
that sounds biased to say you
opal
read the entire patch notes and think all of it was bad.
I have to make sure I'm looking at chat.
To say you read the entire
A lot of
patch
people saying
notes
the opal one
and
is
didn't
one of
like
the best
anything, then there's
ones.
just no discussion to have. There's no debate.
Yes, dear.
I don't know how
opal
to talk
skin
to
for
somebody
Alma is
like that.
one of the best opal skins ever. This emote was a bit stressful, but I can't believe we did it. But I think it's just hilarious.
I have people I need to send this to now that it's public.
So we did intentionally make it that style, like the rough line art to
Yeah.
look like the source material. We could have made it
Them nerfing
really
Bacchus,
clean, of course,
it's
if
a
we
good
wanted
change.
to, but we wanted to,
Them
like,
nerfing
actually
Ares'
keep
passive,
the source
it's a good
material there. And
change.
it just,
Them
like,
nerfing Jingwei, it's a good
Amaterasu is
change.
she's, like,
Them
so
nerfing Crit,
wholesome
it's a
and
good
a
change.
leader,
Them
and, like, you
buffing
just-
certain
you
tanks
wanna,
and tank
do
items,
what
it's a
she
good
says.
change. Cripple back
So,
to
like,
Cernanos,
when
it's a
your
good
Ama's
change.
giving
The
you
art
commands
on
team,
the
you know, this
map
type of face,
is a
this
good
type of
change.
motion is just like, you know, like
If you read the whole thing and you're like, oh, I couldn't find anything I liked on it, and then say I'm biased because there are things I liked,
what are you
All right,
doing
man.
over there?
It's lane pushing.
Like, I don't know how to respond to that.
The chat is super stoked for Big Mac Boy, by the way.
True. Not very good on the rank leaderboard, but
Water Fire Earth Rocks are
we have
actually
the
so
title, the
detailed if you look
mastery,
at it.
we have
I
the
like the
final
walls
skin.
that were added around the mid lane personally.
So
Okay, so now we have to, before we go look at New Wall, we have to make sure we completely
yeah, so
close down.
change the screen.
Back to cameras.
Okay.
Okay.
Whew.
Okay.
It's us.
We did one. We did one without any major spoilers.
Yeah, we can get through one more. As much as I'm sure chat wants the spoilers.
Yes. Okay. I think we are good now.
I think is stressful.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, new wash out of scan.
New
New watch tracker killed with fire. So alt kills essentially.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Clay explosion.
kills or number of times Nuwa hit a god with multiple clay soldiers. So you have to detonate
Saving the world
2
troop.
or more soldiers and damage a god to get this tracker.
The whole minefield.
Yep. We have the onyx skin.
A classic.
Into the opal skin.
We have the opal skin. The opal skins are looking so sick.
Oh yeah, the tattoos look super.
This one looks. I mean, the Ama one and this one both look amazing.
They really do.
Oh yeah, hers is very memey as well. Burn it down.
Like all the rest aren't meme.
Yeah, literally, the meme department went off on all of them.
I didn't say I read it all. Okay, well, you just specifically said they didn't do anything good.
Back.
I didn't like anything I saw.
But yeah, for a goddess that.
Why would I expect to know that meant that you didn't read all of it or know all of it?
We need.
You're like, oh, I saw 2 things, didn't like them, so you then can say, hey, I didn't like it all. Like, I don't know what that means. I gotta respond to you as if you know as much as I do.
Look at the border. Border.
Yeah.
But we can look at Nuwa's border.
Yeah, where can I see
Supports aren't dumb as fuck. Supports are literally getting dumpstered right now.
There you go. Oh, it's got the crystals.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Ama's is great.
They nerfed the supports that are doing well, and they nerfed crit, and they buffed some tank items that had no protections on
I'm
them.
not going to spoil anything else by going out of the screen.
Yeah, so let's go back to cameras.
I'm not trying to convince somebody to like it, but you just to say I'm biased because this is shit is just such a wild statement to start a debate about if this patch is good or not.
To bugs next.
To start a debate about if the patch is good or not, to basically tell me I didn't read it all, but I don't like any of it. You're biased because this is shit. Like,
I was going to pass this.
What kind of wild way to start an interaction?
Actually, definitely isn't the full list of bugs.
I was making additions up to today, so a lot of stuff is being fixed. Our QA team is going insane, but I think I'm going to pass this to you and let you just pick out a couple of them, because again, you can see all of them that we have able to be listed.
Did they make lower thirds for these?
I don't know if we were able to get lower thirds in.
Okay, I just don't want to like overrun production.
No, I think they do. So.
Well, we'll just go through them quickly then.
All right,
so, Pawn, you stop me if there's one you want to talk about. You know.
Yeah.
So Odin. These are in no particular order. Odin, we upgraded the description of his
bug fixes.
Passive, I think that is. We fixed an issue where he could lunging into phoenixes and towers would stop targeting him if he.
Yeah, so this just matches the expectation of how leap should work.
Okay.
Right. That could apply to multiple gods as well, right?
Yeah, it could. But I think he was especially broken.
Okay. Neath, we fixed an issue where she was fully hittable throughout her backflip leap.
Yep.
Fixed issues where she could heal off of enemy weaves. Fixed issue where her radiant skin did not have glowing eyes. Ares ultimate fixed an issue where gods who were pulled by this ability could sometimes not be damaged and stunned. Fixed an issue where this ability had some unintentional additional casting time after Ares slams to the
you couldn't
ground.
auto attack for a long time.
No more getting pulled out of your backflip. Yep,
that's been resolved, so that should feel a lot better.
Yeah, that's a big one. Mordred, we already talked about a couple like core collision fixes. Those will help some of Mordred things. Like when we're talking about gods getting stuck in walls, Mordred was certainly one of them. But fixed an issue where bled enemies tracker on his ascension pass was not counting properly. Fixed an issue where his ability near the edges of Odin's ult would cause multiple spears to instantly kill him in the air.
Yep. Leaving that could sometimes instantly kill you.
Oh yeah.
Instantly kill you. Yeah.
Fixed an issue where you could ghost hit and he would fully animate but didn't actually hit. Fixed an issue where you could get stuck inside of walls. And fixed an issue with the sound effects being too loud when hitting minion waves.
On the hard slash, yeah.
There's probably a bunch of those types of fixes too.
I'm sure.
Kurtanos fixed an issue where polymorph was shifting shadow and radiant skin textures back to default. So he was literally polymorphing you out of a skin.
That's so good. You know what? That makes
Tuesday.
I saw that happen, and now I know why. Okay.
Fixed issues with
it should be Tuesday.
Not animating
That's
after
usual.
Transitioning properly into combat and out of combat.
Cool.
Hecate, Spell Eater, fixed an issue where stance swap abilities could exploit the charge of this ability.
Yep.
Makes sense. Morrigan, Changeling, fixed an issue where transforming into Susanoo, she'd get into a state where she could dash infinitely without cooldowns.
Yeah, that was great. That was a really fun bug.
Description of her marked kills tracker has been updated to better indicate how it tracks.
Cool.
Thanatos fixed it where he would not auto buy. Oh yeah, he was auto buying mana potions, so now he doesn't because he can't use them.
But just a flex.
Yeah, right.
Bellona fixed an issue where she didn't have any roll tabs in her item store. Jingwei, Rapid Reincarnation, fixed an issue where she could fall through the floor occasionally if with client lag while flying. Agility fixed an issue where she could T-pose if dashed into Cernunnos ultimate. Airstrike fixed collision issues where you could sometimes get into a broken state and become immune for longer. Oh, that was a big one.
Yeah,
that was a big one.
She could sometimes become just untargetable for like the rest of the game, so that was fixed.
These are so funny.
Hades, Pillar of Agony, fixed issue where pulling targets from a knockup could cause them to be stuck in the air.
cool.
Ymir fixed an issue with Shards of Ice, where on quick and normal cast, mashing the ability button would instantly explode without even playing the animation.
Yeah, I also know that another one that I don't think is here is we also fixed a bunch of things relating to, like, it would deal, like, either min or max damage when you died casting it, and it would depend based off if, like, you were at the very end of your charge or not. Like, this should just generally work better and as expected.
Got it. And now we're moving out of gods and into items, but this first one is kind of a direct jab at Ymir.
Well, this one is a little bit more than just a fix, but it's a bit of both. But Cersei's Hexstone.
Also, just so you guys know,
will no longer be able to be
there
used
are already
while
bug
firing
fixes
channeled
set
abilities.
to be launched
Now, we
in
know that we let you do this
CA2,
on
meaning
Blink,
the next
and that's
patch.
okay, 'cause Blink didn't
because
have
all
the
of
same
this
number
is
of
kind of a
updated
patch
Hexstone
behind. A
rates
lot of
as
stuff that they're
mentioned.
finding and fixing right
This
now
one
is being prepared
breaks
for the next
animations and
patch.
effects much worse than copy.
Not like
So if you
patch,
start
but like the
channeling
next patch that
Mural
comes out,
and
because
then
everything has to be
Cersei's
verified
Hexstone
on
and
console.
polymorph yourself and then dash.
And
When you
console
come
isn't
out of
something
the
that can
polymorph,
happen
the
right
mirror will just
away.
look
So there are already
no
bug
effects,
fixes. So if
no
you're like,
audio,
oh, this
no
bug, I
animation
don't like
at
that
all,
this
and
is
then he
fixed.
will
I can't talk
explode
about
in his ultimate.
specifics
So it
because I'm
completely
under
masks
NDA.
effects.
But
You can use
some
this
of
to
the bugs that
completely
you might
hide
not
Anubis
see
ult
that aren't fixed in this one
or
are already
Anubis Breath of
recognized
Locust,
fixed
like
and
a
getting
lot of
ready
things.
to be
The
dropped
ability
in the
will
next
keep playing,
patch.
but the character
Everything
will
has
have
to be
broken the
delayed
state.
because
So
everything has to be
Combat
sent and
Blink
approved
doesn't
by
have this level of
console
issue, so we'll
and then
still
put
allow
in so it
Combat
can
Blink
match the
during
same
channel abilities,
patch
but
as
this one,
PC.
because of the polymorph, because the animation changed, the charge state, a lot of things this item doesn't let it really work well with wildfire and channeled abilities. As much as people loved blowing people up with Ymir with it.
And the theme really is you are polymorphing yourself into a pig, which blocks you from doing things to be able to charge at people. Its theme is very different, and yeah, it does create a lot of edge cases that even had we wanted to keep it, it would change fundamentally how the game is structured at its core to support it.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
We have so many. Health Chalice, we already mentioned that one. Spirit Rub, we fixed an issue where this was granting additional magical protections, and it wasn't granting the proper passive, and it was incorrectly providing intelligence. Just a couple of numbers issues on Spirit Rub.
Yeah.
Soul Reaver fixed an issue with this item. I was dealing an extra tick of damage. So a nerf. A little bit of hidden Soul Reaver nerf in there.
Yeah, this essentially removes one tick.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty big nerf. Eye of Providence and Golden Blade fixed issues.
Any good
where these were
updates?
filtered with the cooldown rate filter,
Crit got
even though they
nerfed,
do not
Jingwei got
provide
nerfed,
cooldown rate.
Bacchus got
Scepter of
nerfed, Ares
Dominion
got
fixed an issue
nerfed
with
on
this
his
item.
passive a little bit, so he's not giving
this
as
one
much
probably
power.
has.
Some
this
tank
one-
items got
There's a lot of
buffed.
fixes with this one around.
Cernunnos
getting
got
gods
a
in broken
cripple
states.
back.
I think Chaos said there was many of them, but we just kind of summarized them into
Souls
this one
3
line.
now allows her to actually be slow immune
Soul
or
Gem fixed an issue with this
sped up
item
in the
not
beginning
stacking,
because it wasn't before.
when bought and showing the wrong.
A bunch
if
of
you
quality
bought
of
this
life
from
changes.
from nothing to full. it would break.
Map changes to make it
that's an
better.
interesting
That's all I
bug.
can. I got my promotion program. I have to
Sundering
know
Arc
at least
fixed
32
an item
regulations
where
in
this
and out.
will
Any
only deal
study
100
advice?
damage to jungle monsters
Only
and
study
bosses at
in
level
like 20-minute
15
increments.
Exactly.
And then have a 15-minute break in
It's just a
between, or
typo,
like a
right?
10-minute
It's
break in
1,000
between at
to every
least.
one. It's using a table.
Either
Because it
if you
doesn't
do
use
if you go
linear
too
scaling,
long,
so it
you stop
uses- it has to
retaining like
reference each number
60%
individually.
of what you
It's
normally
just
would.
a typo. So yeah, that's a big fix. I believe there's also a fix where that wasn't displaying a dot icon on your buff bar if you took damage, and now when you've been sundered, you can actually see that on your.
Well, we are into UI now, so it might be in here.
Fixed issues with auto skill settings not working
They
properly.
nerfed
Fixed issues with the
Sunder.
XP and worshiper bars at the end of
They
screen
buffed
of the
Shell
NMX
and
lobby.
something
I missed
else.
this.
No more
Fixed
growing
issues with
bars.
the
Increased the
crowd.
cooldown
I
on
think those
Blink,
bars are-
but
the
they
NMX
buffed
lobby is
Sunder,
still
which
very
was
tough.
huge.
We have a whole rework in progress, so like it's probably going to still have some issues. And a match or fixed an issue where the crowd, arena crowd, would keep playing and cheering throughout the.
Yeah, that's what I
NMX
mean
lobby.
when I don't understand how somebody
Party
could say
queues
like there's
fixed an issue
nothing
where
good in this
members who
patch.
weren't party leader
Like I
would see searching for a game time.
if
always
people
at
hate this patch, I'd
0000. Arena gift text fix the
I don't know.
text. Ranked UI fixed an issue with the rank displaying a blank icon when a god isn't selected for a ban.
They
Fixed
nerfed-
issues with
they
text
nerfed
appearing over
Sunder.
other menus during god selection ban process.
nerfed Sunder.
Friends menu fixed an issue where console users could
I
get
just saw
stuck
some
on certain
things
tabs.
on the stream here, and my
Invite
friend was telling me about
pop-ups
the patch
fixed an
notes. I
issue
think
where
they
console users-
exaggerated a little.
when the
I like
invite
all that.
pop-up wasn't
It's all good,
highlighting
right?
The accept or decline button properly.
It's all good, brother.
And now we're into
No harm
general
done.
gameplay, the
We
last
just
of the
had we just
sections.
disagreed.
Stealth ability fixes. A lot of people ask for these. So fixed issues
Stealth
where
fixes.
characters could be broken out of stealth early.
There
Loki
you go.
and Morgan, usually by using an active aura or getting a different other gameplay effect, which is just like a buff or debuff.
Yeah, Ares often broke if you ever walked into range of him, for example.
A lot of doomer going on Twitter right now about this
That makes
patch.
sense.
I saw it.
Conquest fixed an issue where tower sound effects were playing in rapid successions when enemies died in the
I just came
radius
back.
before being
Did they
hit,
announce
which
something
was-
wild? No.
Fixed an issue when oracles would get
I
all
just think
stretchy
people
when they died.
wanted
That's how a lot of
more more.
That was a good one.
Yeah, we knew about that.
Saw that for.
I think that's it. I think people just wanted more. I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't know. I think it's fine. Everything they changed, I thought was fine.
I kind of already touched on these at the beginning.
There's a few balance changes that I'm like, they kind of missed this. I think I would like that, but like,
happen if clients would get into a bad state.
I would also just like to test what they've done, because the issue is people want like all these big changes, but like let me test the changes first in ranked. Like let me test the changes at the highest level with what they've changed so far. If you change too much, I'm not going to be able to give a good opinion on it. Rate the patch out of 10?
Yeah.
7.
So we did.
It's all right. It changed a lot of things that needed to. It fixed a lot of bugs it needed to. 2 new gods is dope. The map looks dope.
Especially if you experience those in gameplay in the next patch.
Yeah, like the amount, like we get a lot of feedback from Discords, from Twitters, from Twitch clips, any way that you can capture something, especially if you have footage of it.
Like let me show you the map.
Get it to us right away, but. Otherwise, that was a really objectively hilarious section. We fixed a lot of stuff, but I was like crying at the beginning of that section just with some of the like random bugs are so funny. But we have a few more things to talk about. It's been a long show, but let's get to the end of it here. Let's talk esports. So recently we talked about Vegas and we talked about tickets going on sale, and those are going on sale. Oh boy, that's tomorrow, isn't it? At 8 a.m. PST or what is it? 11 a.m. EST.
What was I gonna look
tickets
at?
will go on sale. Now there is a limited number of these tickets and a limited time early bird sale.
Very limited.
Yeah, so make sure that you hop in and get your ticket right away, because again, this venue's not as big as the one we were in last year. Tickets are going to sell out pretty quick, so make sure you dive into that. It's super exciting. You can check it out on Eventbrite. Get your tickets. We have the QR
10 days
code.
ago.
You can scan that there to go straight ahead. But again, tomorrow morning for people in the PST, or super early for PST at 8 a.m.
Anybody have the
Super
patch notes?
early. I don't wake up early. 11 a.m. EST. That's for the Eastern Standard folks. Just make sure that you check it out. We're so excited to see y'all there for the Founders Series. It's going to be hopefully
anybody have the patch
first
notes?
of many really exciting.
Anybody
Smite
need permit
2
or any of my
events,
mods
so
have the patch notes?
Make sure you check it out. You also are going to want to check out this weekend's tournament, though, straight away. So signups are still available.
I kind of find that they leave previous prices
most of
to
this
host
stuff
to
is
make
open
things
bracket.
look like
If
they're getting a
you're
deal.
interested in trying to get into Smite esports, now is an incredible time because you can get in there, sign up, and start playing.
Oh, you mean
right
on
away.
the ranked? You got it.
Throw your